All right, everybody, here we go. Today is Wednesday, Hump Day, July 8th, 2026. My name is Rob Carter. Welcome to the future. Number one radio/podcast in America. Catholics, Jews, Protestants, and I should have added Muslims in there. We're going to talk about that today as we're going to just kind of tie it to the news of the day. And I'm very curious because, Isaiah, you know this subject much better than I do. But let me give you the premise of what we're going to talk about today. We'll have House Rep Ben Keithley on at 10 a.m. to discuss Missouri Amendment 5. I'm sure everybody that watches this show knows what's going on there, but Amendment 5 is a Republican leadership idea to stage out income tax in Missouri and replace it with a sales and usage tax. Missouri grassroots people, the people that I communicate with, are dead set against it. There are some grassroots, or they call themselves grassroots organizations that are heavily for it. We had a conversation with Michael Burton, a Democrat, yesterday. He said it's going to hurt low-income workers. It's going to hurt people on fixed incomes. It's a transfer of wealth, and he doesn't think it's a good idea. Ben Keithley is somebody that I know. I've had many conversations with Ben Keithley. I like Ben Keithley. I think his heart is in the right place. We talked about that just this morning, didn't we, Isaiah? So I have no ill will towards Ben. I want to see what he has to say about it. I want to be even-handed. I want to be fair, but I want to ask difficult questions and see where Ben lies, or what he believes in what he believes, or why he believes A5 is such a good thing for Missouri. Because they talk about growth with A5. That's the thing. It's going to grow everything. So we'll see. We'll talk with Ben Keithley at 10 o'clock. The title of this show today, Catholics, Jews, and Protestants, primarily surrounds abortion, the war, and how people perceive everything. Let me give you for an example. Let's start with Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. All right, because Candace Owens is somebody that is creating a lot of controversy around me. Remember Kerry, what was his name? Kerry Wells? Was it
Kerry Wells? Yeah.
So Kerry Wells is, I guess, the VP of a Missouri grassroots organization called the Freedom Principle.
Yes.
Called Freedom Principle. He's been listening to the show on occasion, and he reached out to us, and then behind the scenes, he was going to put a debate together to discuss Amendment 3, which is the abortion amendment in Missouri. Recently, I said something about Candace Owens. I agreed with her on many of the things that I said. I don't trust her necessarily. I don't know where to trust her, Isaiah. How do you trust somebody that you don't know? And I don't follow the Tyler Robinson case very often. It's all the rage right now, and everybody's talking about it. Most of the time, I think these are just, somewhat distractions. But I said when she's talking about elections and things she sees going on in America, I said I'm almost in complete agreement with what she had to say on the Sean Ryan show. So Kerry Wells, he says he's telling everybody that I got several texts yesterday and today saying, did I have Candace Owens on the show? I said, no, I didn't have Candace Owens on the show. I simply made a comment about Candace Owens on the show. And now Kerry Wells is using that as an excuse, I'm being told, not to do a debate on Amendment 3 with a guy named Wes, I think it's Scroggins. Wow. So making an email back and forth. Then I had a buddy of mine yesterday from Vegas who listens to the show. He used to be my boss way back in the day in the early 2000s. He was my boss. And he was giving me trouble about Candace Owens. She's a charlatan, and you think that Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk. And I said, I've never made any such comment. Isaiah, have we even talked about that? I don't even know where that comes from. I said, I've never made a comment.
We just question we just question the story. That's all.
That's all I've ever said.
We even said, hey, maybe even if he did do it, was it his own doing? You know what I mean? Exactly. We've even said that before.
He was railing on me and said, you just want to admit you're wrong. I said, Mike, I'd admit I'm wrong in 2 seconds. I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. I don't even know what you're talking about because I've never made the statement. But he's 100% sure I've made that statement. So I asked the audience, does anybody remember me ever saying that Tyler Robinson wasn't the assassin of Charlie Kirk? Have I ever made that statement anywhere at any time? Of course I haven't, because I don't follow the story, number one. All I've ever said is the official story doesn't make any sense. And I question the security that Charlie Kirk was using, because I'm not a bright person, but I can tell you that if Donald Trump just had an assassination attempt on his life and I'm getting death threats, I want my security to cover the rooftops. That's it. That's all I've ever said. Outside of that, I've never even made commentary about Tyler Robinson. Again, like and share, what is it? Like,
share, comment, and subscribe, and share all the things.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. I got to let everybody get in because apparently we're having some problems with, what is it, Rumble right now? Of course, because that's my...
I don't think so. No, Rumble's good.
I thought you said it was having a problem with it, or somebody did.
No.
Oh, John Grady said we were having a problem. It was lagging, is what he put. I don't know if that's true, but
No.
share.
Lagging would be a internet problem for the individual.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. We have to do that every day, and we'll start to see the things start to pick up. We'll start to see the algorithms have trouble with us. So
Yeah.
again,
It
like,
is not pulling in Rumble viewers on our side. You're looking at the number there. So we have more viewers than that's showing there. It's just only
I
pulling.
generally don't pay attention to that much
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
I think I
Just so
probably
you, I know
should.
sometimes you look up and look at the number every once in a
I
while.
can kind of tell when something's going off, right? You
Yeah.
kind of get a sense of it. But I don't really look at that much anymore. I really wish more people. I said one time, I really don't care how many people listen live. I take that back. I'll admit I was wrong, Mike. I'll admit I was wrong. I like when people listen live because it does help us with the algorithm. I'm noticing that
Mhm.
60, sometimes 70% of the audience listens after.
Would you ever be open to a time change?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That might be something, because that's something that people do comment a lot. I know you can't read all the comments, but I try to read all the comments as they're going. And a lot of people say they comment a lot of times how you have a tough time slot, and it's true. To get a lot of live viewers,
Well, I'm
it's
10 to 1
yeah,
Eastern time. Rush Limbaugh was 11 to 2.
yeah.
What's a better time slot?
Well, I guess he just had lunchtime, and so I guess that's a better time to hit
I don't
people.
want to. I don't
Because I
want
know
to.
Alex Jones doesn't start till noon. Owen doesn't
Yeah.
start till noon. A lot of people don't start till noon for some reason, and I haven't looked into it, so I can't tell you. I'm
I'm up
just
for
telling you.
anything.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what people have commented, and I could agree. If um, a lot of the people that are going to resonate with us is a lot of the younger folks too, and
Well, that's
they're
why
not going to be
I
able to
think
watch.
that's why we're seeing so many people watch the show later,
Yeah,
right? We're
that's
seeing 60, 70% of the audience watches the show in
late at night.
late at night. Yeah, you see the numbers spike up when you wake up the next morning. Like, what's going on around here?
It's like
Anyway,
500, and then wake up and it's 1,500.
yeah, and that's just on Rumble for the most part. And
Yep.
so anyway, we'll figure all of that out. But I want to get into this conversation because we only have about 45 minutes before
Yep.
we bring Ben in, and I want to make this point. Candace Owens worked with Ben Shapiro. She left. Now this is the story. Wait a minute, where is it?
Here's the story.
All right. The story is that Ben Shapiro hired Candace Owens. She was making a big fat living. And then she left when she said Christ is king. She is a Catholic. Now she's at odds with Ben Shapiro. And I'm starting to notice that the Judeo-Christian philosophy, whatever that means, I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you, but the Judeo-Christian philosophy is at odds with the Catholic philosophy, and it's at odds with the Jewish, what is it, Judaism? It's
Mhm.
at odds with Judaism. And let me just give you of what I mean. Okay, just one personal example. I was working, I think I told you this before, I was working for a very wealthy person out in California who was Jewish. His family left Iran in 1980 when the Shah of Iran fell. He tells us, he's told this story many times to people that know him, that they got a knock on his door. The new Iranian leadership said, listen, you got to be out of here in a couple of weeks. No longer can Jews own land in a Muslim country, and we are a Muslim country. Therefore, you're going to give up your land and you should go. And they leave. He works through Europe and he ends up in the United States. We were friendly with each other, and I still am. I think very highly of him. But we were sitting. He's a big Donald Trump fan. I think that's why we connected with each other. He's a huge Donald Trump fan. And we're sitting down. We're getting ready to have lunch one day, and abortion was in the news. And he sits down, and he always puts his tie. As he get ready, he puts his tie over his shoulder, and he goes, "Listen, everybody. I just want to say that a woman has every right for an abortion. That's that. That's settled. I don't want to talk about that." And I thought, well, it's kind of it's just a very odd way to start a lunch, and it just always
Yeah.
resonated with me that he was very strong opinion as a Jew that women had the right to abortion, and we don't even really need to discuss that. That's out of the lane, right?
Yep.
I think that's where Catholics come from, right? I think Catholics agree with that philosophy. Catholics don't like abortion. But as I watched this is just my take on it, Isaiah, right? As I watch what's going on with A3 in Missouri, and one of the reasons I'm frustrated with the whole religious aspect on abortion is my own Grace Church. I like Grace Church. I'm not speaking ill of Grace Church. I'm just saying that Grace Church brought up Adam Schnelting, who is the author of A3, as I understand it, but would not allow Mike Moon, who's abolitionist, believes that life begins at conception. And my church that I go to would not allow that debate to take place and would not allow Mike Moon to speak at my church. Now, A3 does allow exceptions for abortion for rape, fetal anomaly, health of the mother, these types of things. And look, I don't really want to get into the issue. I'm just noticing that there are different ideas about abortion, and it seems to be shaping how we see the world. I'll give you an example. Well, let me start with this. You tell me, as the war, because the war's back on again, Isaiah. I don't know if you know, but the war's back on.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
off,
yeah.
it's on, it's off, it's on. Listen to me. Just can you clip this as well? America does not want peace in the world. Have you not figured that out yet? How can a country that has all of the power, nuclear weapons, all the technology be at war for 50 plus years and it's never ending? This country that you live in does not want peace, and that includes Donald Trump, because I believe the CIA runs the show and they're just reactive to things. That's what I believe. Right? The CIA, and Ron Paul agrees with me. Let's just do Ron Paul real fast. It's clip number 7. Listen to what Ron Paul has to say. Ron Paul believes the beginning of the end of modern life changed with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And who does he think was behind it? Clip number 7.
We don't have any resemblance to a government that believes in a republic. We don't have honest money. We don't have integrity. We don't even have people in Washington that even pretends, that you're supposed to tell the truth. Remember just recently there was a congressperson that won, and he won by putting on his resume just a bunch of lies. and the other ones got hysterical. The other congressman telling lies like this. And I got to thinking, well, how many of these people that were complaining about this guy telling lies, how many of them lied when they raised their hand up and swore to uphold the Constitution? Now, that's a lie that really has consequences. Actually, you could probably make fun and make a little joke, because his jokes weren't, everybody knew he was fibbing, but the real lies are being told, and that is our big problem. But I do believe there has been a coup, and it's been taken over. And if I want to just put the date in my mind, and anybody could pick probably any date in the last 100 years. But I have picked November 22nd, 1963.
What happened on that day?
That was the day Kennedy was murdered by our government.
Wow.
By the CIA.
Yep.
And at the time, I remember matter of fact, Kennedy was killed in Dallas, but he landed at Kelly Air Force Base, and I was the flight surgeon there the day before.
Now, let's think about this. Who was the first Catholic president? John F. Kennedy. Who do I believe killed John F. Kennedy? I believe it was the CIA along with Israel. You have and you'll agree with me on this, Isaiah, the USS Liberty survivors. Now, I get in arguments with people. My buddy told me yesterday that I was wrong about the USS Liberty as well. And I say, okay, well, I don't know that I'm wrong about the USS Liberty. I just happened to meet 15 80-year-old men who witnessed it firsthand. I just wonder, Isaiah, if you were to guess, if you were just a judge or the jury on this particular case, and I'm talking to 15 80-year-old men who don't want any money, they want no compensation, they just want to tell the story that they know because they witnessed an intentional attack by Israel on their ship. Who would you believe? Would you believe the people that wrote the story? Would you believe people that did an investigation in Israel? Or would you believe the people that watched it with their own eyes? Who would you believe, Isaiah?
I tend to believe the eyewitnesses.
I kind of believe eyewitnesses as well. That's kind of where I fall. If 15 80-year-old men tell me this is what they witnessed, they're 100% sure of it, and they're trying to alert the American people.
If it was one person, maybe I probably wouldn't be on board.
Split. If there was a split, if 10 said, no, I think you're wrong, and 10 said, I think you're right, they're all in agreement of what they saw. And I tend to believe eyewitness reports of 80-year-old men who have nothing to gain. That's just me. I mean, call me crazy. But what I'm starting to notice, and the reason I bring this up, is Catholics don't seem to be on board with what the Trump administration is doing in terms of war. They're a little more skeptical. That's Candace Owens is a Catholic. Protestants, the people that go to Grace Church, my friends at Grace Church, who I love. I'm not trying to denounce anything. I'm just telling you what I'm noticing. They love Donald Trump. He can do nothing wrong, because if he's fighting Israel's war, they think that is a necessary event. They believe that that's what they're supposed to do. So Protestants, what I'm starting to understand, and Isaiah, tell me when I get it wrong, but just let me finish the story, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. Protestants seem to be in line with what Donald Trump is doing. Catholics seem to be questioning what is going on. Muslims seem to be very much against Donald Trump in this administration. And I keep thinking to myself of what Ben Shapiro is doing to Candace Owens and the back and forth between the two. So let me just start there. I know I'm bouncing a little bit, but it's a little bit complicated for me because it's not in my lane, and I'm really looking to get everybody's opinion. I'm looking to get your opinion as well, Isaiah. Let's start with Ben Shapiro, clip number 3. Now, this is Ben Shapiro. He's saying this is the way the Jews perceive Jesus Christ. Clip number 3. This is on the what was this guy's show? What's the guy's name?
Is this Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan. This is Joe Rogan show. This is Ben Shapiro on Joe Rogan. Listen to what he says. This is the way he says Jews perceive Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
From a Jewish point of view, where we don't believe in the divinity of Christ, I think that there you can make an argument that the Gospels, which were written,
he was just a prophet, and
significant. No, we don't even believe he was a prophet.
What do you think he was? What do you guys think?
What do I think he was historically? I think he was a Jew who tried to lead a revolt against the Romans and got killed for his trouble, just like a lot of other Jews at that time who were crucified for trying to lead revolts against the Roman and got killed for their trouble.
So, in essence, according to Ben Shapiro, the Jews perceive Jesus Christ as basically just a person who led a revolt. He has no significance in the world whatsoever other than he led a revolt against
the Romans.
The Romans.
Yeah, the Romans. Yeah, he led a revolt against the Romans, and he is a rabbi.
Okay, so here we go. So you follow my logic here just for a second, because again, this is not my lane. I just want to get your opinion. So Ben Shapiro says that the Jews believe Jesus was.
Which I'll tell you this: there's no singular view of Jesus, Jewish view of Jesus. Just so you know,
I'm just saying from Ben Shapiro's point of view.
Yeah, this is from only Ben Shapiro.
There's no absolutes in anything, really.
Yeah, there is a singular view of Jesus with Muslims and Christians, but Jewish people do not have a singular view of Jesus.
Let's go to number 2 then. This is because this is the way I understand the Muslim view of Jesus Christ. And then I say, which one has a more fond view of Jesus Christ? The Muslims, who were bombing into smithereens, or the Jews, who we helped bomb the Muslims into smithereens? Because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And you tell me what you hear.
Yeah, they're both wrong.
Number two.
You a believer?
Yeah, I used to
Your mind.
ask questions in the church. They couldn't give me any of the answers. When they were trying to make me believe that Jesus was God, I could not grasp the concept of the all-powerful God coming in the form of a human being, coming out of the vagina of a woman, being a baby, being taken care of by a woman. For me, that doesn't make sense. I can't worship a human God. I believe Almighty God is far superior than a human being. Look at the oceans. You think a human being created them?
No, God created him.
The whole idea of Jesus being God, that's something I can't rock with, my dear sister.
Even though he was divinely created.
As Muslims, we believe in the miracle birth as well, my dear sister.
Okay.
We believe in all the miracles of Jesus, and we believe in Jesus as the Son of Mary, the Messiah. There's a lot of similarity. We just don't believe Jesus is God. Yeah, we believe Jesus was sent by God, but we do not believe Jesus is God himself. Because even in the Bible, it says that the humans cannot see God. And if humans see Jesus, like we can't even look at the sun. What makes you think you can look at God, my dear sister?
Okay, so let me just, this is the way I understand it. So the Muslim point of view is that Jesus was a prophet, that the miracles are real, and that he was sent by God.
Well, when was Islam? No. So it's context is important because
I know. I'm going to give you my point of view, and then you can correct me. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So as I listen to that, and this is what my Muslim friends tell me as well, right? So they tell me the exact same thing. They believe that Jesus was a prophet, that he was sent by God, but that he is not God himself. Okay. According to Ben Shapiro, Jesus was just a guy who led a revolt against the Romans, and he's, that's it, and that's really where it all lies. And if I just weigh those two, if that's it, nice and simple, if I weigh those two perspectives on Jesus, wouldn't I lean toward the Muslims being more in line with thinking Jesus was a benevolent person, a prophet, and then I have the Jewish point of view, which says he just led a revolt against the Romans? Go ahead.
No. The Muslim view of Jesus is a completely false view of Jesus. The other thing you have to realize is that
how though? Why do you say that?
Because they do not believe he is divine, and so
that guy said he was. That guy said he was sent from God.
He's not divine, is what he said.
We said he's not. They said he's not God.
Yeah, that means not divine. They do not believe Jesus is divine. They believe he was sent by God. They do not believe he was crucified. So Muslims do not believe he's crucified. Jews believe he's crucified, though. So you see what I mean? Is like the context is important because you can take one thing and say, oh, Jews believe this and Muslims believe this. Should we side with the Muslims? Well,
no, it's not whether it's siding with the Muslims.
No, I'm saying, but if Jews believe that Jesus was crucified, Muslims don't believe Jesus was crucified.
That's fine. I'm just saying, you know,
So which side is you know,
if
who are
the
you going to
Muslims
side
think that
with then?
Jesus was a prophet
Yeah.
and sent from God, then I
That's
would
still
say
wrong.
that's not what. So the guy was lying. The guy wasn't telling
No,
the
no,
truth.
that's still false. That's
That's
still
not what
false.
you're saying.
That's a false. That's not false. That's not false. I'm not saying that they don't believe that.
I don't know. I'm not disagreeing with what you're coming from. I'm saying just
Yeah.
hear me out. I'm saying that that's their view is that he's not God,
Yes.
but
He's
he
not
was sent from
divine.
God.
Yeah, he's not divine.
Right, but he was sent from God.
Yes, yeah, he's
Okay.
sent from God.
So I would say
They,
if my religion, even if I think that that Jesus is not God, but I think he was sent by God and he created these miracles, then I would have a favorable view of Jesus.
and it's yeah, because he's a prophet.
They
But
don't believe in the religion.
when was Islam started? That's the thing.
Right. I'm not saying that they have a favorable view of the Christian religion. I'm just
Yeah.
saying they have a favorable view of Jesus.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have a favorable view of Jesus. In Colossians, Paul deals with people that are very similar to the Muslim beliefs, and he calls them apostates. He says that they're heretics because they don't believe Jesus is divine, and he argues why Jesus is divine. And so, being close is not that's not enough.
How is
You know
that
what I
better
mean?
than the Jewish version?
It's not. How is what better?
That's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm just
It's
saying
not better. So they're both wrong. That's
right.
the
I'm
thing.
just saying if you were to weigh it, if you're to weigh it as a person, let's say that you don't believe in Jesus at all and you don't believe in any religion whatsoever and you think religion is bad. And you're just looking at it on the chalkboard up here and you go, okay, well, here is the Muslim religion, which is wrong. Okay. Which is wrong. But the Muslim religion believes that, or the Islamic religion believes that Jesus was sent by God, that the miracles are real. They have a favorable view of Jesus Christ, not the religion, but Jesus Christ. And then I go over to the Jewish side, and they think that Jesus was kind of an imposter who led a revolt against the Romans. No real significance in the world necessarily, right? It's just a story. Why would I be siding with those people over the people that think Jesus was at least a prophet? Saying that they're both wrong, how would I weigh it? That's what I don't
And then
understand.
they also think that Jesus didn't get crucified, though. And then the Jews did get crucified. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you weigh it on one thing, Rob, if you weigh it on one thing, of course you're always gonna side with whichever one is more positive on that one thing. But you have to look at the context, the full context. And so if you're saying that an atheist is going to look at only these two things and make a decision, that's a low IQ, low brow decision making process because you're just looking at one item. You're not looking at the entire context. Islam was created in 610 CE after Christianity's already been on the earth for 600 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Islam, it's Judaism and Christianity mixed together. And so they took parts of Judaism, they took parts of Christianity, and they've mixed it together.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. That's not what I'm saying. I think
I know, but I'm saying that if you're going to say, look at one thing, that would be like that's not an argument. That's like, oh yeah, this one thing, sure.
Here's my argument. Why are we fighting on behalf of the Jewish state of Israel?
Yeah.
If the Jewish state of Israel doesn't acknowledge that Jesus was the Son of God, why are we fighting? Why is there an inherent love affair with the state of Israel that I see with my church?
Mm-hmm.
I see with multiple different churches. I think that the state of Israel now,
I think it's because
evil
Jesus
as can possibly be. I think Israel is evil.
EVIL,
evil. And why am I dealing with them? I don't know about the Muslim religion because I haven't studied. I don't know anything about Islam. That's why I'm asking the questions. But what
the
I
thing
see
is that in the Israeli government, there's Muslims in the Israeli government too. So you got to separate the Israeli government from the Jewish people.
I'm not talking about the Jewish people. As I said, Israel, the government.
Yeah, but you're equating Judaism to the Israeli government right now.
Well, isn't it?
No,
they're not hiding behind it at least.
Well, they could be, but there's Arab. If it was, then there would be no Muslims in the government. You see what I mean?
Well, there's no Muslims making any decisions for the government.
Well, they're in the Knesset.
Yeah, but they're not making any decisions for the government unless they're looking to bomb the Arabs all over the country.
Those are the people who make the decisions for the government. That's how the Knesset works.
That would be like saying that would be like saying the people in our Congress in Missouri are making decisions for the leadership. This whole everything is rigged and fixed. I'm sure.
No, I understand that. I understand that, but you know, you can't make overarching claims when the facts are disputing that. You see what I mean?
Yes.
And so that I understand what you're saying as far as I agree that Israel's evil. Completely believe that. However, to say that a Muslim nation is closer to our beliefs because of how they hold Jesus is not. That's I would say that's a picture you're painting right now. Maybe you're not trying to.
Yeah, I'm not trying to paint that picture. I'm just saying because you're coming in from your belief system and my belief system. I'm saying if you take that out of the equation, right? Because the Constitution is biblically inspired.
Yes.
But it is a contract with the government that says we are a free people and this is the rules, right?
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I'm just saying, if you look at it from that context, why would our Constitution, which is the way I see our government, if we're in a constitutional republic, why would our government be leaning in protection of Israel?
Yes.
If it's
and that becomes from the
and be at odds with the Muslim world from now until forever, and we're going to bomb all other nations along with Israel. I don't understand how we get to that logic. That's all I'm saying.
So it's Zionism, you know what I mean? So it's dispensational theology. So John Darby, Schofield, that's where it comes from. So it's easy to understand if you understand that context, because this part of the Bible is the exact same for the Jewish people. This is the Christian Bible. This part of the Bible is the same for the Jewish people. This book is not, they don't use this book in Islam. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's easier for Christians. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying that, right? But I'm trying to answer your question and say it's easier for Christians who say, oh, well, they've got most of it, right? But that's wrong. That's completely wrong too. Just because they got most of it doesn't mean that they're close to it, right? It's the same for the Jewish people. It's the same, as I'm saying for the Muslims, it's the same for the Jewish people, because Christians will say, well, oh, they're almost there, right? It's like, no, they're completely far gone too. They don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe he's the Messiah. They don't, like you said, they don't even believe he's the Messiah. They just believe he's a rabbi, another rabbi amongst the other rabbis.
I got you. And this is why I'm bringing it up. I do not understand why Christians, whatever denomination it is, why Christians are okay with aggressive bombing of Arabs and Muslims forever. They don't care at all. I mean, I watch these people are in glee. I was listening to the radio this morning, and I'm listening to people, and they are doing a happy dance, high-fiving each other because we're going back to war with Iran. They don't know anything about Iran. They don't know any people from Iran. They've never been to Iran. And this is all throughout conservative
thought. The Ted
thought.
Cruz clip is probably the best one ever that was ever done with
Tucker
Carlson.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the one with Ted Cruz. I love that one, by the way.
Yeah.
And
he's
I'm
like, how many people live in Iran?
Right. And I'm thinking to myself, where is the Christian mind being so manipulated? Not all Christians, of course. I'm just talking about in generalities, especially with these people that are Christians. I believe they are Christians.
Dispensationalists, yeah.
Yeah. And they have no problem with bombing children at all. None. I mean, they don't lose an ounce of sleep over it. It's not something that bothers them at all. Zero. In fact, they cheer it on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm looking at Christians on Facebook and so forth, and every time we bomb Iran, they're like, give it to them. Every time we bomb Gaza, get them, bomb them, end it right now, end it, put the stake through their heart. I'm like, what in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Because if this is what Christians ultimately believe, I think we're in big trouble with the Christian religion, because we're starting aggressive wars, Isaiah, and we've been starting aggressive wars for quite some time, and that is not a Christian ideology. That doesn't seem very Christian-like to me. I mean, I could be crazy.
I think I understand what you're saying more now, and I think I can respond to this, because you're talking about the propaganda that we're getting, right? The propaganda we're receiving, and specifically that Christians are receiving, to say essentially Muslims are infidels. They want to kill us. They want us dead, right? And we never see, right? You like that? I threw in the right there for you. We never see.
Now we're both doing it.
I know. We never see the videos of the Orthodox Jews attacking Christians in Israel for preaching the gospel, though, right? Exactly. We never see those. We don't see those. That's not on the news. It's not on Fox News. It's not on CNN. But we'll see the Muslims with their hijabs, right? All the Muslim women with their hijabs in the streets chanting "Death to America." They'll show that, right?
But at the same time,
I understand what you're saying now from that propaganda that they're receiving, right?
You just had Americans over there standing on stage.
I know.
Singing "Death to America." You had Americans doing that, and the only reason I bring that up is, if you're saying "Death to America," and the Shah said what he was talking, or not the Shah, the Ayatollah said that means your government. We think your government is aggressive. We're not talking about your people. right? He came onto the press conference and said, we're not talking about death to the American people. We're talking about your government is evil. He was talking about the American government because it's aligned with Israel. But that's not what our media tells us. That's not what, I mean, I've heard a million people say, you don't want to go to war with Iran. They're chanting death to America. I'm like, I know, but their Ayatollah, their leader, did a press conference and said, we're not talking about your people. We're talking, your government's evil. Your government is creating war all over our lands. It's killing our people. We want you guys to stop. That's where the chant death to America comes from. Yet you don't hear that through any of our media sources. And who runs our media, Isaiah?
Majority, either Israeli organizations or owned by Jewish Americans.
Exactly. That's not that's not anti-Semitic to just state
They're
the
Zionists.
opposite.
I'll say that. It's not just because they're Jewish. It's because they're also Zionists.
Correct. If I say it's sunny outside, it's not mean I'm anti-sun. It just means it really is sunny outside. I mean, it's just
because there's Christian Zionists too. It's
correct.
It's
and and I'm somebody who believes that Jesus was a peaceful man, that Jesus was the Son of God, and that he died through the crucifixion. These are things that I believe. And I can see Jesus' influence on my life. But I don't think that Jesus wanted to give a license to Christians to bomb people aggressively and say, well, wait a minute, they were going to bomb us, therefore we must slaughter them. We must start dropping bombs all over them. That just seems so anti-Christian to me. And I can't wrap my arms around why so many Christians cheer this on and act like it's no big deal. And as they're watching 2,000-pound bombs drop on apartment complexes in Lebanon, and as they're eating a ham sandwich. What is going on? Mm-hmm. I don't understand it, Isaiah. I need you to make it make sense for me because I'm getting frustrated with it.
In fact, it's the opposite here. Are you familiar with the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5?
Vaguely.
It's a famous sermon. That's why.
Yeah. I heard
people are kind of typically familiar with that. Right?
I heard a sermon on it from Grace Church, as a matter of fact. Go ahead. Tell me what.
And so it's got all the blessed. Blessed is this, blessed is that, blessed is that, right? And it's Jesus speaking. And so he says, these are his own words. He says, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Right? Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Those are just two blesseds that I just wanted to read there because blessed are those who mourn. We see a lot of mourning happening in Gaza. Israel too, I understand. There were people that died, right?
Yes.
But there were people that died in Gaza that are mourning still. People in Iran that are mourning, right? People in Bahrain, I get it because Iran attacked Bahrain because of the U.S. attacking, right? There's probably people mourning in Bahrain as well. And so I look at this, not just this is just something that just popped in my head as you were saying that. But there's so many instances where Jesus is a peacemaker. Blessed are the peacemakers even in there, right? For they shall inherit the earth. And I think that's what Jesus will do when he comes back is establish that world peace because he's the only one that can do it. And anyone else who says they can do it is just an antichrist. But that's the view that Jesus has of people who are mourning, who are being persecuted. He says they're blessed.
Well, I think it is shaping ideology, political ideology. Let me explain why. This is what the underlying point. There are several in there, but I noticed that people that put words in my mouth, right? I'm starting to notice that they all come from that Judeo-Christian point of view. Mm-hmm. The people that continue to tell me that I say things that I didn't say, that I believe things that I don't believe, or that I'm doing things that I'm not doing, are all framing me out of that context. And I'm noticing the people that are, especially Catholics. Andy Palachuk was on here. He's a Catholic. A couple of our advertisers are Catholic. Candace Owens is Catholic. They're saying what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And that's because
they're all
of the
same page with what I'm saying. They see through the propaganda. They see through the nonsense, and they're trying to bring it to people's attention. Those people are getting attacked by the other side of the other denomination of Christianity.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to wonder why. What is going on? Do certain parts of Christianity believe that we must be aggressors in war forever?
Mm-hmm. Well, it also comes from the viewpoint of who crucified Jesus. That's where it starts. So if you talk to a Zionist, they will reject what's called the deicide, that the Jews killed God. Mm-hmm. The Catholics accept that. It was the Jewish people that killed Jesus because Pontius Pilate was saying, hey, this guy's innocent. He has nothing. He hasn't done anything, right? And they're like, no, crucify. This is the Jews. crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. And he goes, okay, well, who do you want? This prisoner Barabbas, or do you want this, or do you want me to release Jesus? Right? And they said, give us Barabbas. And so they release Barabbas, and he takes Jesus, and that's the start of the crucifixion, right? The Romans didn't want to crucify Jesus, but the Jews made them crucify Jesus. And so the Christian Zionists will say it wasn't the Jews, it was the Romans that crucified Jesus. And so that's where it's hard, because
I did not know that, Isaiah.
Yeah, technically the Romans did crucify Jesus
under the instruction of.
Yeah, right. But under the instruction of the Jews who had gathered there, right?
Yeah, I learn as I go here. That's why I ask so many questions, is because I kind of look at the Bible and I look at religion just the way a journalist would. Make this make sense for me. The reason I label myself as a Christian is because when I pray at night, I pray to Jesus, and I recognize the influence over my own life. So I'm starting to recognize that if I stay close to the Bible, if I understand what Jesus is trying to explain to me, if I follow his wisdom, my life remains better, and I'm a better person. People are more attracted to what I'm doing, right? I just become a better human, and people that are good start to be around me more. Good people start to gravitate towards me. I'll put it to you that way. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Right? Yourself included.
Christians
right?
are happy. Real Christians are happy people. I think that's one of the things that attracts them to people, to Christians.
And that's what I said. I said, it's you get a much better view of the world when your head's not buried in the sand.
Yeah.
Right. And people go, and I did it again. The reason I say that is they think that what we're talking about is like horrific, and that you and I get off the show and we're looking at a bottle of poison going, should I drink the poison or not? Whereas the reality of it is we're very happy people. You're a happy guy. I'm a happy guy. I have a happy life. I love my life. I love it every day.
So blessed.
Can't wait to wake up in the morning. It is what it is.
I was just telling my wife, I said, oh my gosh, I'm so blessed. I love my family. I love my life, what I get to do. I get to help people out. There's so many things I get to do in my community as an alderman that if I wasn't here, Rob, there's so many things that wouldn't get done. That's just blows my mind. And it's just because I'm a go-getter. Right. And I'm a positive person, right? I look at the positive.
I see you out there.
Most people look at the negative, and I don't get it. You know what I mean?
I never see the negative in anything. Anything that happens bad to me, I think God was trying to teach me a lesson. Yeah. Anything that goes wrong for me, I try to learn from it. But I never crawl up in a corner. And that's probably from my parents. I remember my mom slapped me one time in my face, Isaiah. My mom slapped me. I can remember it like it was yesterday.
I think you told me this.
God, we lived in a little apartment, executive apartments over by the airport. And I was sitting there at the kitchen table, and I don't remember what the argument was about, but I was complaining to my mother, and I think she was stressed out. Money problems were tight. There was not a good economy in 1980, and I probably wanted something, and she wouldn't give it to me. And she said, Rob, it's, she was probably more a little, demonstrative, if you will. And she said, it's not easy. I'm a single mother. I'm trying to raise you. I'm working full time. I come home. I make you dinner every night. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, why did you even have me? Bam! Bam! Mom said none of that. And I remember because my mom always would, she did not spare the rod. She did not spoil the child, if you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. My mom was hardcore. And the hug afterwards was, honey, you cannot feel sorry for yourself ever. You are in control of your own life. I gave you life. That's the deal. And never feel sorry for yourself. It's an ugly trait, and jealousy. She used to tell me jealousy was an ugly trait, and she beat that into my head from the time I was 10 or 11 years old. And she was right. Feeling sorry for yourself is what makes you unhappy in life. So you should never feel sorry for yourself. You should never say, woe is me. You just can't live through that lens. You have to give it up to God, say this is the way it goes, and learn from it. That's the way I see it. I got to get to this because we're going to run out of time before we bring in, and I got to get to advertisers too. But I want to do Julian Assange first. Okay. Because as I'm watching everybody cheerlead this war, I don't understand it. I'm having a tough time understanding why people that I love so much, that I think are great people, that are great fathers and mothers and sisters and brothers, why they're just really good, decent people, seem to take a nap when we're bombing other people. I just don't get it. And when you bring things to their attention, go, wait a minute, did you know this? Did you know that? Did you know this? As I said the other day, our government is a problem, a real problem in this world. Our government, not our people, but our government is a real problem in this world, and we can't see it through that lens for some reason. I assume it's propaganda, but I want you to listen. I don't
want to derail you, but did you see the report that came out this morning about the school that we killed all the schoolgirls in Iran? A new report came out this morning.
No,
that they just disregarded intelligence that they had gotten. That it was because it was not a school before back in the day, and then they said, "Oh, well, our map said it was a base or something like that. That's why we bombed it." And new reports said new reporting raised questions about a U.S. military strike in Iran after several sources said the military should have known a school was on the site in February. That's just the
Really?
headline there. Yeah. So very interesting, like you're
Well,
saying.
you got this guy used to drive me crazy, and I'm starting to understand him a little bit more. That Cenk Uygur, or whatever his name is, from the Young Turks.
Yep.
He was on a talk show the other day, and he talked about something that went down in Gaza, where he said a 6-year-old
Yeah.
girl was killed.
Oh
So
my
she's driving in her
gosh.
car. Israeli bombs hit the car, kills everybody but the 6-year-old. She's in her car, and she's pleading for help,
Calling people.
calling people, trying to get help because she doesn't know what to do. And I guess the Israelis start to come and they bomb her again.
Yep. Yeah.
You see that?
I think what had happened, what he said is that the ambulance, even this is even worse now to go like this makes it even worse. The ambulance called Israel multiple times. They verified that they are going to go in there and get her with Israel.
Yeah.
They gave them the approval. You can go in there and get her.
That's what it was.
Went and picked her up, and then they bombed the ambulance.
Do you know the story, or did you just see it?
No, I just saw it as well. I
Yeah.
saw the because I was, that was like, man, that's ridiculous. I want to watch that film because it's unreal.
Yeah. The stories that I hear firsthand are the ones that get me, right? Because
Yeah.
I can say that you're misled by propaganda, but I saw I went to I think I've told the story a million times, but it begs for people to pay attention. We had a military member that was over there as a contractor who said that he saw Israelis shooting children in the head, just shooting them indiscriminately. We had an American doctor who's not a Muslim who went over there to treat the people because she felt she had a duty to treat children in Gaza. She said the exact same thing. You have the USS Liberty survivors, 15 of them, who you and I both met, who said Israel bombed an American ship intentionally. You have Israel bombing Lebanon, which is led by a Christian leader. And you see all these things and you go, why are my Christian friends so in line with this? Why are they cheering it on? I'm not proficient in the Bible. I'm not, but I just
Propaganda. That's what did it.
I don't think that God and Jesus, I just don't believe that this is what we're supposed to be advocating for. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Go to Julian Assange. It's clip number 4, because this kind of relates to the war in Iran. Okay. Listen to what he says. This is what I think is the reality of the world. Look what they did to Julian Assange. They imprisoned him for being a journalist. They tried to kill Jeffrey Weinhaus for being a journalist, and I still haven't had anybody do anything about that just yet. We'll ask Ben if he'll get involved. But here's what Julian Assange had to say about money laundering. That's what's happening in the security state, which he's talking about the intelligence agencies, as Ron Paul said. The security state creates war to launder money. So you're going to be in continual war because the people that have captured this country are money laundering. They're stealing it from you and I. As we cheer on war, they're going, these morons, I love it. We're going to create war. We're going to launder money through all of these broken societies, and the Americans are going to cheer it on as we're doing it because we've created a boogeyman enemy that they can't get away from them. It's just the most beautiful.
And we're sending them money, by the way.
And we're sending them money. It's the most beautiful thing we've ever seen. Julian Assange, clip number 4.
No society anymore. What there is a transnational security elite that is busy carving up the world using your tax money. To combat that elite, we must not petition. We must take it over. We must form our own networks of strength and mutual value, which can challenge those strengths and self-interested values of the warmongers in this country and in others that have formed hand in hand an alliance to take money from the United States, from every NATO country, from Australia, and launder it through Afghanistan, launder it through Iraq, launder it through Somalia, launder it through Yemen, launder it through Pakistan, and wash that money in people's blood.
And now Iran.
Yep. He's saying something that I've been thinking about, and I know you had the fishback clip that we'll play later, but if we get to play it about the flock safety. But he said something in there, basically saying that we need a revolution, that we got to take it back. And I agree. And I think that's why Fishback is so popular down in Florida because how he talks is how a revolutionary talks. That's that's what we're looking for. That's like a William Wilberforce, right? Or a George Washington, or someone that's going to get up and speak with power and conviction, right? And I think that's why the young people are so attracted to someone like Fishback, because we're looking for that revolution.
I think my father hit it on the head, Isaiah. I said, why, when people see what's going on in their lives, when they recognize they're being manipulated, when it comes to when it comes to your noggin, and it makes perfect sense, why does nobody do anything about it? And my dad said, people are still too comfortable. And I really think that's what it boils down to. If you're comfortable enough, you don't want to rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat. Flip boat over. You want that song too?
Oh yeah, I know that one. I do know that one. Yeah, I think that's so true, because my parents, something that I really feel like my parents just lied to me about is, and it's not their fault. This is what they grew up with, is like, hey, you get a job and you stay at that company for 45 years and then you retire. Like, you don't ever leave the company. You don't ever change your job. That's so terrible. People are never going to hire you.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know. My dad lost his job. He ran the IT at SLU in 2000 until 2008 in the financial crisis. And then he was laid off along with all the other IT people. And he couldn't find a job for 2 years, even though he's, extremely, extremely qualified, aerospace engineering, computer science degrees. Right. And so that definitely shaped a lot of the values that they instilled in us, right? With like not getting in debt, not having credit cards, things like that. But yeah, that's a lie that I really feel like I was fed by them.
It's interesting you say that, because I look at the world through a different lens. I think the entire country should be based on small business.
Yeah.
I think big corporate money is a sin. It's evil, right? BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, these type of operations. This is what's destroying our nation. It's corporatism. It's fascism. They're rolling in communism into it, but it's authoritarianism in its nature. But when you have trillion-dollar businesses, think of the power that you have. It's just too much power in this system. We have to put a check on it. We should look at the state of Missouri. If I was running the state of Missouri, and I have some good friends who work at Sam's, I have good friends that work at Walmart, I mean, in executive positions, and I love them. I don't think that they're a benefit to the state of Missouri at all. At all. I think that Walmart, Target, Lowe's, all of those businesses are horrible for the American economy. You might like what they do for the stock market. It might raise your 401ks, but all it does is take jobs away from people that would if there's a need for it, you'll have it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just taking your need for it and consolidating it down to where they have all the power. That's all it is. It's not any different. Do you think people 50 years ago went, where am I going to get a nail? How am I going to get a hammer? Where am I going to get a hammer from? There's no hammers around here. We need a Sam's.
Yeah.
They went downtown and got a hammer from the local hardware store.
They went to Robb's hardware shop.
They went to Robb's hardware shop. It's, as I said before, one of my closest friends, his Mexican guy that I grew up with, he might be listening today. My oldest friend, I met him when I was 7 or 8 years old. We're still friends today. His mother made a living and raised 2 boys on her own as a seamstress at the mall. She would sew jeans that were ripped and made a living enough to have a 3-bedroom house in a right next to my uncle who raised me and my cousin Charlene as a janitor. You can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore. And nobody's recognizing that society, because of the inflation and the interest rates and the propaganda and the war and the Federal Reserve, they're not recognizing that life is getting more complicated, less fulfilling, more stressful. We're riddled with anxiety. You have 22 military members that commit suicide every single day in this country because our government is feeding us with propaganda and we fight for our own demise. That is my opinion. Can I get to slap happy?
I do just want to say that when I was in India, that's exactly how it was. Now in Delhi, it was definitely a little more corporate, right? But I spent an entire month outside of Delhi in the north, in the mountains on the border of Pakistan and China, and in the foothills of the Himalayas. Right there, it's called Himachal Pradesh, is the state in India, right there. And I didn't see a single corporate business the entire time I was there.
And you loved it.
And I loved it. They were all happy. They all have their own shops, a pizza shop, even a sandwich shop, right? There's a place called the German Bakery, and they sold chow mein. right? It's like,
It's coming.
yeah. And so it's like, I think I enjoyed that so much. Looking back, when you said that, it just kind of came to the front of my mind. It's like, man, that's probably why I enjoyed India so much, because I'm just going to the shop. I get to know the person, right? I got to know the person that owned it.
Look at the credit scores, Isaiah, before I get into that. I always complain about credit scores, right? If I decide not to pay a bill because I think a business is ripping me off, well, then it dings my credit. The corporations can ding my credit despite the fact that I think the corporation was ripping me off. That's why I'm not paying them for something they're charging me with, but I just get it dinged. I don't have any say in it.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if you go back 100 years, I could go down to the local bank and say, listen, you guys know me. I work in the community. You know me, you know my wife. We go to church together. I need a loan for $1,000 because I want to do X. And the banker would go, I do know you, Rob. You've lived here for 30 years. Your family, I knew your uncles and I knew your grandparents. Yes, I'll give you the $1,000. Now it's just a computer program. Is that better for society? No, it's better for big corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our entire lives wrapped around promoting big corporations. And then you have people cheering these big corporations on as they restrict your freedom, as they give you less and less opportunity. And anybody who's worked in a big corporation long enough at a high level, you're expendable. Don't forget, no matter how awesome you think you are, if you work in a corporation and you start making big money, your time is coming to an end. I'm a perfect example of it.
Oh yeah.
Isaiah, I was working at a shoe company. Okay. Big one. In November at that shoe company, I got the largest raise possible. My direct report gave me a glowing review. That was in November. They raised my salary by $80,000. True story. That's in November. And in February, I sat down with my boss in Vegas and he says, hey, listen, man, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you're going to get fired here before too long. I said, fired for what? You just gave me the highest review I could possibly get. My numbers are insane.
Yeah.
They don't like you. I said, don't like me through. I knew it was because of Trump. I knew the answer, but that was the deal. And then they kept me on until July and I got fired. And I said, they wanted to give me, I think 6 weeks severance pay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the most amazing thing in the world, but this is the world we live in. And I don't understand why people promote it. I just don't think they understand it. And I think to your point, it is just mass propaganda. People do not remember what happened yesterday, much less 50 years ago. They have no understanding of history. We were talking about books, right? I was reading a book from the 1950s. My wife and I went to an antique shop over the weekend, and they had these old books at the antique shop from the 40s and 50s. And I just opened, my wife was shopping around looking for little knickknacks and things. And I'm reading through the book and I'm watching the language and I'm just thinking, man, this is very cerebral. And I thought to myself, that's kind of not what goes on in our school system anymore. It's like, it's so dumbed down. I guarantee you somebody today, even myself included, would not know 10 words on every page. That's how expansive the vocabulary was.
I know.
And now it's, it's tic-tac-toe. It's
no.
a completely different world. All right. We got to get back. Where's my man? Is he on yet?
Not yet. I was going to say about the work there. You were talking about the corporate world. When I got into the corporate world, finally, just circling back, because you kind of connected the dots there about my story with my parents, and they're telling me, oh, you got to stay with the same job, right? And that's how you move up the ladder. And when I got in there, I realized quickly the only one who cares about me is me. They don't care about me at all. That was quickly pretty prevalent to me, that the corporate people do not care about the individual, but they want you to care about the company over yourself. And it was so funny because I always chose myself over the company, and they can never do anything about it because it's not technically wrong, but they would be mad about it and they try to make me feel bad. And then I would just,
I love you, by the way,
flip it on them. Right.
I think that's why I love you, because you're young enough to recognize it. See, I wasn't young enough to recognize it when I was young, and somebody hands you a big pile of cash and you come from you don't come from means, and somebody wants to pay you a bunch of money. You're like, oh my God, I love you so much. This is going to be so fantastic. I'm going to have all this money. Then they own your life. If you're a corporate executive, they own your life. It's all you can think about. Your mind is completely in it. It never leaves. You're constantly under the gun, especially if you're in wholesale resale. And then they'll get rid of you whenever they need to save some money.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yep.
That's the way the world works, unfortunately. All right. PLMO, People's Lobby Mo. Ben's on here. Ben, we'll get to you in 2 seconds. I've got to get some advertisers in here very quickly. peopleslobbymo.com. peopleslobbymo.com. I'd appreciate it very much if you would sign up. Our job and what we do at People's Lobby Mo is get information out to you. We're kind of, I would say, a sister business or a sister company, because I do see it as a business, because you got to raise money to make it all work. So I'm just going to be honest with people. It is somewhat of a business. We're not taking any salaries from it. We're not making any money off of it. We take the money that you give us and we create a marketing strategy to put pressure on governments. You think they're not spending money to put some pressure on us to vote for these amendments, Isaiah? A lot of money coming in to support these amendments. We do the same thing. We say we're going to lobby on behalf of the people of Missouri and around the country, if you don't mind. And if you send us money, we'll get our message out far and wide. So you ask the right questions and seek the right answers when you're working with your government. That is peopleslobbymo.com. And then we got to put the commercial up for Act for Missouri and Michael Compton. He's got a new book out. I promised him. I said, Michael, I'm going to promote this book because it aligns with my soul, really. I think that the citizens, and I think Ben Keithley will agree with us, this is trying to get people to pay attention to their duty as citizens if you want to live in a free society. If you want to live in a free society, you've got to pay attention to it. You must work for it. It's not automatic. You're not, there's no secret sauce. You just have to make sure that you keep your constitutional rights available to you, because if you don't keep them available for you and your family, then the government ultimately will grow out of control and they'll take them away from you. It's just the nature of government, not ours, but every government throughout history. That's why the founding fathers were so bright. Pop that up on the screen real fast, Isaiah. Here's the book.
Keeping the Republic, A Citizen's Guide to the Next 250 Years. Available now on Amazon.
There you go. Keeping the Republic. That's Michael Compton. You can hear him. We're not going to have him on tomorrow. They'll be on Friday. They've got an event, so they'll be on Friday. But if you can support actformo.org, if you can buy Michael Compton's book, if you can help us with People's Lobby Mo, we'll bear fruit for you. That's all I'll tell you. We will bear fruit. We understand what we're doing. We know what our goals are, and we know how to get it done, and we will get it done. And then I got to get to slaphappyhemp.com. Our good friend John Grady, slaphappyhemp.com. Now, as he says, Missouri put them out of business, so they have hemp products available until November. So if you're somebody who buys hemp products, you can get them at a great deal at slaphappyhemp.com. This is in Rosebud, Highway 50 in Rosebud. John Grady. There's the website. You can reach him at 636-388-8771, slaphappyhemp.com. Again, if you are somebody who buys hemp products, you're going to get a great deal from John Grady, and you're going to support our advertisers. Highway 50 in Rosebud, or you can reach him at 636-388-8771. Check out their website, slaphappyhemp.com. Let's move over to Carrington Financial. Your caring advisor.com. I got you doing that too, Isaiah. Rick Babbitts, who was on yesterday, he always fascinates me. Rick Babbitts, for all of your financial planning needs. Again, if you're nearing retirement and you want a different view of how to grow your money, not a cookie cutter view that you get with a lot of people in the financial world. He's a fiduciary.
Definitely not cookie cutter.
Definitely not cookie cutter. He's got his own mind, and he says, what is your risk tolerance? And we'll tell you where you need to put your money. Rick Babbitts, I say, get a second, get a third, get a fourth, get a fifth opinion. I don't care how many opinions you get, but you should get Rick Babbitts' opinion. 314-671-0525. Biblical principles with your money. Rick Babbitts, my man. 314-671-0525. And then we have Valvoline Express Care. I expect to see that sticker in your window when it's time for an oil change and you're in the St. Charles County area. Let me give the locations first, Isaiah, this time, if you don't mind. Highland, Illinois, Warrenton, Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, St. Peter's Parkway, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, Troy, Illinois, and Lee May Ferry Road. Let me give one other tidbit of advice to the people that advertise with us and people that listen to the show. If you have a small business and you're using trucks, if you're doing construction, all of your trucks should be serviced with Valvoline Express Care in these locations with Tony Clark. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. I'll sing that song to you too, Isaiah. I don't care. I'll sing
I know that one. I know that one.
We've got to work together. This is a contained community. This is what we're talking about with small business. We work together. We're going to bear the fruit from it. We're all going to be a family together. We're going to know how to get things done, and we can grow our businesses together if we decide to work together. Valvoline-Express Care, Valvoline-Express Care, Valvoline-expresscare.com if you want to get some coupons. But next time you need an oil change, always remember Tony Clark, 15 minutes from bay to on your way. No nonsense, no sales pressure, all Valvoline branded products. Valvoline Express Care. Tony Clark. Again, locations: Highland, Illinois, Warrenton, Missouri, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, St. Peter's Parkway, Mid Rivers Mall Drive, Troy, Illinois, and Lee May Ferry Road. All right, let's bring in Ben Keithley. We're going to talk about Missouri Amendment 5. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Ben might have. Hey, Ben, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Hey, how are you doing, Rob? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. Did you write this along with Bishop Davidson? I know you're involved in it.
Oh, we've been working on various renditions of and versions of income tax elimination for the last few years, Representative Davidson and myself. Um, and so there are certainly, I mean, there are elements of there that, and certainly the core ideas I've been involved with putting together and drafting how it works constitutionally, how it works on the statutory side as well. So very familiar with the policies in it. Been working for more than just the last year. What people have seen through the legislative process. This has been a long time coming through and working on. But yeah, I've been very involved at from an early side and with all the policy crafting on this.
Got it. And I'm going to give you a shout out very quickly because I like you. I think your heart's in the right place. So, a lot of people, and I do it sometimes too, Ben. I get kind of crazy sometimes, but I think your motives are pure. I think you're trying to do the right thing. I got to determine whether you're doing the right thing. That's why we're having this conversation. But I believe that your motives are pure. I happen to know you. We know similar people. I've been watching your career from the very beginning. I think you did you came on right after you got elected when I was at News Talk and did an interview with me right away. I think right when I first started. And I've just been watching you ever since. I know people that know you; they speak very highly of you. So I'm going to start there. That there's no nefarious motive in my mind with Ben Keithley. But here is what the grassroots, because I'm paying attention to everything, and I'm trying to make a determination here. And a lot of people that I listen to say this is a bad deal for certain people within Missouri, and they're very concerned about certain issues. So how about this? We start this way. You tell me why you think it's good for the majority of majority of Missourians. How do you see it? How is it structured? And just give your pitch for why you think it's important legislation.
Well, the simple answer, and I think that everyone's hearing everywhere, and these are absolutely true. I mean, just about any credible economist is going to back up the idea that income taxes are incredibly harmful, and they are certainly more harmful than consumption taxes. And you can see that. I mean, look no further than what states without income taxes are doing. The states without income taxes, and not all of them are super red states, like the ones we like to point to: Texas, Tennessee, Florida. Those have a lot of different red policies that help them. But zero income tax is a big one. But there are other states that are doing better than all other states that also have income tax that we don't associate as being hard, as being super red states. Places like.
Now, what happened? Hang on, Ben. He moved his camera and then he went silent on me. What a bummer. Hang on, let me get him back, everybody. Hang on 1 second. Can't hear you. I'm going to tell him to come back in.
Yeah, let's have you just jump back and come back in, Ben. Not sure what happened.
Yeah, he touched his camera and then he went silent.
Yeah, that was so odd. He's got headphones in, so maybe it could have been something.
Let's get Ben back on here. Any questions you have, Isaiah? I want to make sure that, let's see if anybody's got questions that they want us to ask.
Well, there we go. Let's bring him back in. Here we go. Let's see.
Can we hear you now, Ben?
Can you hear me, Rob?
There you go. Yeah, you touched your camera and you went silent.
My tripod here, and then so I couldn't hear you all of a sudden, and I don't know why that shut off my son. But anyway, as I was saying, it's not just the red states with zero income tax that are economically growing faster than states with income tax, and Missouri is one of those that's getting left behind. But the argument, growing Missouri's economy should not be the chief reason why we want to eliminate income tax. I think it's from an individual level. Why do you want zero income tax? Why would you want to possibly even risk replacing that with a consumption tax? And the answer to that is the income tax is not just economically bad, it's morally bad. It is the single biggest invasion of privacy that we perpetuate every year, and we do it to every citizen in Missouri. And you may not be required to file an income tax return. That doesn't mean you're not paying income tax. They don't want you to file an income tax return because most people get refunds. They'd rather keep more of your money and overtax you. And if you're not filing a return, some people think they're not paying income tax because they don't file a return. They're just not getting the refund back. And there are other people who may not have a direct income tax burden, but they're still paying income tax because the person you're doing business with is paying income tax, and they're passing that cost along to you as kind of a non-transparent sales tax as it is anyway. Income tax leads to double taxation. That's why it's economically bad. We squeeze you on both ends. You're already paying sales tax. You're paying embedded income tax to even the things you don't pay sales tax on right now, but you don't see it in your bill. So what we're doing is when charging income tax, we're squeezing you on both ends. We're squeezing you when you collect your paycheck, and then we're squeezing you again at the other end when you spend the paycheck. That is double taxation. Everyone who makes money, every business is turning around and paying income tax on it, which means they are passing that on to a consumer as if it were a consumption tax. You just don't see it. All the economic growth arguments, the fact that states with zero income tax are doing better than states with income tax, are all true. But to me, the biggest motivation for why we should be looking at zero income tax is because the government has no business knowing every dollar I make, every dollar I want to invest, every dollar I want to spend, every dollar I save. But that's what they require to know from us. They want to know my kids' social security numbers to see if I qualify for some credit and can give me a small break on my tax burden. They want to know where I've been working, where I've been living. Income tax return, if a police officer were asking you for that information, the U.S. Supreme Court would call it a violation of due process. They would need a search warrant to do that. But the Department of Revenue from Missouri is allowed to do it to every single person every single year. It's the single biggest invasion of privacy. My biggest motivation for doing it is to, one, end the double taxation, end the non-transparent taxation, and also end that big invasion of privacy that the income tax is.
Gotcha. I'm going to give you some of the questions that were posed to me as I'm trying to read through this. I have the legislation over here. I read through this. Hard for me to understand it, to be honest with you. It's just hard, the language and where there might be loopholes. First question is, do you think this hurts ultimately certain people within our in the state of Missouri? This would be people that, as you said, they might pay embedded income taxes, but they don't pay income taxes because they're on a fixed income, they're on Social Security, or they just don't pay income taxes because they don't rise to the level of paying income taxes. Do you think those people will ultimately be hurt?
By eliminating income tax,
or pay a little bit more?
I couldn't tell you that every single person in Missouri would not be. I do think wealthier people who predominantly buy services and have a lot of loopholes and credits that they claim that basically obliterate their income tax burden. I think they're certainly going to get hurt. The idea that this is somehow works against middle class or lower income people is actually the opposite. If you are a wealthier person, if you are someone who has, millions and millions of dollars of real estate investments, you are depreciating real estate, you're depreciating vehicles, you are taking tax credits that our state government shouldn't be, but is offering to people, particularly on the corporate side, and you're passing all that through, and you're obliterating your income tax burden. You also are the type of person who is mostly buying services, which is if we were to do the revenue replacement on this. And again, I want to be very clear. Amendment 5 itself, voting for Amendment 5 does not create any new tax. It is absolutely true that it does allow the legislature to go back and consider taxing various things that haven't been taxed for on the services side. Those would all be services, things like lawyers, CPAs, chiropractors, lawn care services, the types of things that wealthier Missourians buy in bigger bulk. Your average Missourian, your working class Missourian, your lower income class Missourian is not spending most of their income on services. They're spending it on goods, which means they are already being sales taxed on it. If you're someone who spends, you get your paycheck and you go and you turn around and most of that is going to groceries and clothes and things, tangible goods from the store, you're already paying sales tax on all that. But you're also paying for that business's income tax, and they're giving you less of your paycheck to go buy those goods. So you would absolutely benefit. I think there are Missourians who would be worse off under this system, but it's the people who tend to spend almost all of the vast majority of their spending is on services, not on goods. It doesn't matter whether I'm a millionaire or I make no money. We all have to eat about the same amount. Someone may be buying more expensive food, but we're all eating about the same amount. However, if you're a wealthier Missourian, your need for CPAs and legal services and lawn care workers and contractors to fix up your homes and all the property you own vastly outweighs what a typical average Missourian is paying for those things. And those are the people who tend to be squeezed or may tend to pay a little bit more in taxes. That doesn't necessarily bother me. I think people who are leveraging our tax code to take all kinds of tax credits, that's exactly why the income tax is not the best way for capturing those. This is about making sure that we have a more efficient tax system and have a system that does require people who may have more access to tax credits and CPAs to somehow be capturing that type of revenue from them. But if you look at the sheer numbers on it, your average Missourian pays about $1,500 a year in income tax. In order to be revenue neutral, it would be the ultimate sales tax rate that would go on services and goods after this would be somewhere around 5%. It's currently 4.2. Now that is not 5% additional on top of 4.2. That is 5% period is what the state sales tax obligation would be that you'd have to pay. At 5%, if you're an average Missourian paying $1,500 a year on income tax, now in order to pay more than $1,500 on the additional taxation on services, you are going to have to purchase $30,000 in a single year worth of services. That's $30,000 worth of haircuts, lawyers, CPAs, massages. I don't think the average Missourian who's paying $1,500 a year in income tax right now is spending $30,000 a year on services. If you do, it's kind of a fluke year kind of thing. But that would be the math that I would encourage Missourians to do.
Okay, but it's revenue neutral, as I understand it, right? So where would you get the money? So if you're not getting it from the middle class, because you gave the mean number of $1,500, where's the money going to come from? How do you make it revenue neutral? Where's the money going to come from if it's just a small, if insignificant increase to average Missourians?
And I'd like to even be more specific. I'd like to ask, what other goods and services are the legislator planning to tax to make up that revenue?
Well, it would be services like lawyers and other things. I mean, the biggest service I think that most Missourians buy would be, or that when you're talking about average Missourians, would be kind of the medical services. Mike Kehoe has stated that he will not sign any bill that expands it. He wants an exemption for medical services specifically. And I will say that is kind of a promise that's really easy to keep, because about half of all medical services spending in Missouri is federally exempt already. There are some things that even if we voting for Amendment 5, we just still won't be able to tax because of other provisions in the Missouri Constitution and federal provisions. Things like airline fare, things like and about half of all spending that's done on medical services, we would not be able to tax post Amendment 5 passing anyway because of federal bans on it. Other things like the purchase of a home is exempted in Section 25 of Missouri's Constitution. We don't touch Section 25 in Amendment 5, which means we can't put sales tax on your home purchase. What would possibly be eligible would be the 3.5% commission that the real estate agent makes on selling your home. That would be eligible because that would be a real estate service. We could put a tax on that post Amendment 5. And I think that's why you see groups like the Missouri Realtors coming out against it. And however, I would remind people, you're already paying 4.7% because that real estate agent is having to turn around and pay income taxes on their commission. So what we're talking about is taking a non-transparent 4.7% tax, and you'd be moving it up to a 5% or somewhere around there, 5% sales tax, which would be transparent. You would see as a line item. But the trade-off is we're not squeezing you on your own paycheck that's going to purchase the home. So those are the kinds of services we're talking about that would be taxed. Those types of things. We can't tax things that the federal government tells us we can't, or that the Missouri Constitution outside of Section 26 says that we can't tax.
What about rent? A lot of people sent me messages saying, hey, what about rent? I'm young. I don't own a home. I'm rent. Could they possibly put a tax on my $2,000 a month rent?
No, those are federal. Those have federal protections as well. If you're paying for rent, and because of that, rent has never been a part of these calculations. I'll tell you, if we could tax the things that the federal government says we can't, and we put those in, there is so much money we are losing every year in services in Missouri that could be God's revenue, where we would actually, if we were required to be revenue neutral, and we just taxed all services and all goods that aren't currently taxed, regardless of federal preemption standards, we would actually be able to get the same amount of revenue we get from the income tax and cut the current sales tax rate. That's how much revenue is being lost. That's how inefficient our system is, our taxing system is right now. You have to remember, our current tax code was written in 1913. We have not moved on from the system that was put in place. We've made changes. We've largely different exemptions and deductions, and we've expanded the scope of people who pay income tax from where we started in the 20th century. But from 19, or maybe I think 1930 is federal. 1917 is actually, I think, when Missouri puts in the income tax. We have a more than 100-year-old tax system, and we have an economy that's moving more and more to services. Isaiah, I think you asked the question about, well, that money, that additional revenue has to come from somewhere. So who's paying more, who's paying less? There has to be winners and losers. There absolutely are people who aren't paying right now. For example, tourists largely purchase services in Missouri. And people say, well, Missouri doesn't have that many of that. That's just not true. We actually have more tourists per capita in Missouri than Florida does per capita. There is a vibrant tourism industry. And when tourists come to Missouri and spend their time here, they aren't buying a lot of goods. What they're doing is they're purchasing services. They're purchasing different tourism excursions, rides, Uber, Lyft, and Lyfts and taxi cabs. Those kinds of things are services that aren't currently subject to sales tax. This would change that, which means a lot of the money we're getting is, would you rather have 6 million Missourians having to pay the $8 billion burden that's currently taken from the income tax? Or would you rather have the 40 million tourists who are coming to Missouri sharing in that burden with Missourians? That's how we lower it. The other way we're actually lowering tax burden, when you say the money has to come from somewhere, is through economic growth. Zero income tax leads to more businesses being willing to invest because we're not punishing labor, we're not punishing investment. We're taxing on the consumption side, which means people are safe to come in, invest their money, hire workers, pay their workers more without getting punished by the government. So economic growth alone will take up some of this space, which means you're not necessarily paying it. The fact that more money is flowing into Missouri means means that the revenue is getting made up there, not necessarily, not out of your paycheck.
There you go.
Yeah,
can you hear me again? Sorry.
Yeah, we see you. We're good.
And I agree with that too, because I'm an alderman here in St. Clair, and that's kind of my view is how can we, increase our consumption tax, right, so that we can generate more revenue for the city here. However, I think a lot of people are concerned because how it's written right now is there's not specific goods and services that are listed that are going to be taxed. And we don't know, we're not hearing from you guys the specific. We're hearing, we may tax this, we might do this, we could do this. And I think people are just concerned about that. They're worried. And I think you can understand that too. And it sounds like that. I think they're just worried about, hey, what if I end up paying more in taxes because all these things that I'm buying, if I'm not getting an income tax, say I'm retired, right? And then I'm paying 5% instead of 4.2%. That's automatically more in taxes that I'm paying at 5% than 4%. I think that's what people are concerned about. And the other thing that I know people are really concerned about, which I'm sure Robb's going to bring up, is I don't think it's really suspending the Hancock Amendment, but the language does go around the Hancock Amendment to where you can impose these goods and services tax without going to the vote of the people. And I think that's another thing people are concerned.
As long as, and the one thing I'll take that part first, as long as it's revenue neutral, that is a big caveat. And I would say that's not really changing the Hancock Amendment, because the Hancock Amendment right now allows us to do
it, but it goes
revenue neutral tax changes. It goes around one specific part of Hancock, and that's essentially the margin for error. The reason for that being is that right now, whether Amendment 5 fails or passes at the ballot box, we could do a complete revenue swap, go to a zero income tax. We would have to put the sales tax at an exorbitant rate because we're not getting rid of the constitutional special interest carve outs. We're just going to have to tax the things we're currently taxing. And that is a dwindling economy. We are selling less and less goods in Missouri and more services, which means increasing the tax rate then would have to go up to a ridiculous amount, which is why we have to do this in the Constitution. But we could do that right now without Hancock. The problem is and if it's revenue neutral, you don't have to go to a vote of the people. If for every dollar of income tax you are losing, you are going to gain it from some other tax or revenue system. As it is right now, that does not require a vote of the people, and that's what we're talking about. What is getting changed from Hancock is the margin for error that's allowed. Right now, the margin of error in Hancock it's $50 million adjusted for inflation. It ends up being about $93 million is what you're allowed to be off in your calculation in determining if something is revenue neutral. $93 million is okay. I mean, it didn't do a whole lot for the gas tax that ended up being exploited. And that's why they didn't have to go to a vote of the people, was that same provision. So I would argue that margin for error is not doing a whole lot to protect Missourians right now anyway, as the gas tax shows us. But 93 million, when you're talking about, adding 0.5% onto something, that's plenty for a margin for error. When you're talking about replacing 60% of your general revenue fund, $93 million is a rounding error, which means, and if we were off by $94 million in terms of the dollars that we eliminated off the income tax and sales tax, and again, we're doing this over 5 years, not in 1 year. It has to be equalized over the 5-year period. If we're off by a rounding error, 94 million instead of 93 million, what happens is the Supreme Court can come in and say, due to the Hancock Amendment, we are going to undo all of the income tax cuts you've done. We are going to undo the revenue change, and you are going right back to square one. We don't care what amendment, it doesn't matter what the voters voted for in terms of eliminating income tax. You violated the margin for error, and therefore we're going to undo all the work you did. And that would be a real shame if that came in year 4 or year 5 when we were about to hit 0. And the other thing I would say is, because of the strong revenue neutral protections we have in Amendment 5 itself, the voters are already insulated and protected from us exceeding that $93 million threshold on it. We would have to return those dollars back to the voters through income tax cuts the very next year, or readjust the rate for the very next year on sales taxes on services in order to make sure we're consistent with Amendment 5. Amendment 5 creates its own guardrails for these specific tax reform ideas that will happen over the next 5 years. And those guardrails are more appropriate for doing what we need to do than the margin for error is in Hancock. And that is the only thing that changes, and it only changes for the 5 years. The idea that we are somehow getting a new power we didn't have to raise taxes without voter approval is not true. We haven't changed the fact Hancock, as it stands right now, allows revenue neutral tax reform with or without Amendment 5.
I got to ask you this. Go ahead, Isaiah. If you got
I was just going to follow up because I do hear the revenue neutral. Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot. And I really appreciate you, by the way, Representative Keith. You're answering. These are great responses, and I appreciate that. But something, when you look at the official ballot language and you go to the Secretary of State's website right now, he says under Amendment 5, at this time, the impact on taxes is unknown. So if the impact on taxes is unknown, how can you guys say that it's going to be revenue neutral if we don't know the impact that it's going to have?
Well, it doesn't. Okay, it requires revenue neutral or less, which means Amendment 5 means you can't get more revenue off of switching to a consumption tax model from an income tax model. We could, I mean, and believe me, a lot of conservatives, including myself, will be arguing that it shouldn't be revenue neutral. We'll be arguing that we should be cutting spending at the same time so we can deliver an even lower rate. And I think that argument very much, the revenue neutral is basically a cap on how high the consumption taxes can actually go. You have to have the revenue neutral cap. One, because I don't think we should use economic growth from eliminating the income tax to grow government. I think government is plenty big enough, too big as it is right now. And I don't want to be a victim of our own success if we grow our economy and grow the coffers of government. But also, it's important for being able to say, I need to be able to tell you all, well, what is the rate actually going to be? Because you hear people out there saying, well, the rate's going to go to 20%, 15%. I mean, those rates that you hear out in the media are exorbitant and would absolutely fly in the face of revenue neutral. Revenue neutrality really puts you in that in a 5% range on there, because when you calculate all this. Now, that's dependent on what the window of time is you want to do it. It's dependent on how much you cut. Every dollar we cut means a lower rate on the consumption-based tax. And so there are some other variables that go in. If what we're going to do is go back in the legislature and just swap out all the constitutional special interest groups that aren't paying sales taxes right now, and just continue to give that to them in statute, then yeah, either it's going to take us more than 5 years, or the rate would go up more and more from there. But the whole idea, the reason we are adjusting Section 26 to carve out all of these special interest groups that have been living sales tax free because they, and these are the words of the realtors, they paid for constitutional amendments to exempt them from sales taxes, and they want to keep those. Like all these special interest groups that have gotten sales tax loopholes and exemptions for themselves, the idea is to not turn around and give it right back to them. If we're going to do that, then it's going to take 20 years to eliminate the income tax because we're just not going to be able to replace the revenue. Realistically, I don't think Missouri's sales tax rate can go over 6% because that puts us at that's going to start knocking on the door of the states around us, states like Tennessee, Illinois, Arkansas, Kansas. We have to maintain a state sales tax rate that's lower than those states, or there's no advantage to actually eliminating the income tax, which means there are some very real caps. They're not expressly put into the constitutional amendment, but revenue neutrality is a very hard cap at that 5 to 6% range. The one other thing I wanted to address, because you said, well, there is a tax increase going from 4.225 on the state sales tax rate to 5%, if that's where we're going. Yeah, on the state sales tax rate, I think you will absolutely probably see an increase because anyway, you will see that increase. However, who cares? Who cares what your state sales tax is? If I'm telling your listeners you're paying 4.225 state sales tax, everyone at home right now listening is thinking, well, I pay more than 4.225% right now. You're paying closer to 10%, 9%, 11%, right?
Yeah,
that's because of all the
We
local
got county and city, everything.
yeah, all the local sales tax. What I'm saying is why I say who cares? You don't care what your state sales tax obligation is. You care what your final sales tax obligation is. Who cares if you're paying 4% to Missouri and 6% to the locals, or if you're paying 5% to the locals? It all comes out to 10 anyway. The other thing Amendment 5 does, and this is expressly in the language of Amendment 5, is it's not just the state of Missouri that gets an expanded sales tax base by removing all these loopholes on these specific services. Local taxing jurisdictions would get a windfall too. They have revenue neutrality requirements too, which means they have to lower their other taxes. They have to cut personal property tax rates. They have to cut real property tax rates. They have to cut their sales tax rates right now when they get the additional revenue, which means while Missouri may be moving up from 4.2 to 5%, your local governments are all going to have to move from 6 to 5 or less to make up for that, which means effectively what you would see is no real change on the sales tax you actually pay at the point of sale. Some places would probably, depending on how much revenue and how much services are being sold in that jurisdiction, some places would maybe even see a sales tax reduction on the ultimate rate.
Gotcha. Okay, Isaiah, will you look through some of the questions that people are asking because my eyes are
Absolutely.
bad. I can't really see, but I got a couple questions for you.
Mhm.
One that I hear a lot is the logic question, right, with Amendment 4, because we see the rhetoric coming out of the, I would say, Republican leadership that we need to pass Amendment 4, and they're saying that it's to keep outside money from coming in and changing our Constitution. That's Amendment 4. That seems to be the principal reason for Amendment 4. And then you have money coming in from this group called Missouri Promise, and everybody's going, it's from Delaware. It's $1.9 million. We really don't know who's behind it, and this money's coming in to promote A5. And the logic question is, if we're trying to keep out of state money or out of international money coming in to usurp our Constitution, what is the difference with out of state money coming in to promote A5, and who is behind Missouri Promise, and what are they all about, and why does a Delaware based company have any interest in what property or what income taxes or usage taxes are in Missouri? That's just a logic question. I'm curious if you know the answer to.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you see a Delaware-based company, what you're seeing is someone who's trying to avoid income taxes, or not income tax. They have avoid the corporate tax. A lot of businesses that are set up in other states go to Delaware. There are very, very few Delaware companies that are actually based in Delaware. That doesn't tell you a lot. But I would challenge people, like, let's be a little more scrutinizing than this. It's not that out of state money is bad.
Isaiah.
Oh,
All right, hit him again.
he came back last time right away.
I wonder what the technology is.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah,
There we go.
we don't know what's going on. Sorry about that.
It's not that out of state money itself is the bad thing. It's the things that the out of state money is chasing. When we have millions of dollars flowing in from billionaires in Switzerland to make Missouri an abortion friendly state, that's a bad policy. When we have out of state money coming in to buy sports gambling monopolies and marijuana monopolies, that's bad policy. when, it's not the out-of-state money that's bad, it's the policies they're buying. And again, we have in-state money that chases bad policies. And one of those things is Section 26 in the Missouri Constitution, which has given groups, which the realtors admittedly said they paid for to have in the Constitution. So they wouldn't have to pay sales taxes on their services like a lot of other types of businesses have to pay sales taxes. Closing loopholes, closing deductions that's various special interests have accumulated over the last few years in Missouri, or last several years in Missouri, is a good policy goal. I think it can be lazy to just say, oh, well, if the dollar came from somewhere other than Missouri, or I can trace it to, that means I don't even have to look at if the policy is good or bad for me. I'm saying, forget where the money's coming from. Let's look at these actual policies and decide, is it good for me? Is it good for my personal bank account and for my family on the kitchen table?
Okay.
So you're saying that Amendment 4, we should vote no on that then, based off that logic. Is that correct?
No? I think we absolutely should be voting for Amendment 4. Amendment 4 isn't just about it. And Amendment 4 would not stop money coming in from other states. It would stop money constitutionally. It constitutionally blocks money coming in from other countries. In the same way, I would go to jail.
I mean, if the policy is good, why do we care?
If the policy is good, why? Because Amendment 4 is doing a lot more than the money. It's also changing the threshold by which we amend our Constitution. The most important reason to vote for Amendment 4 is because it should be harder to change our Constitution than it is to pass a law in Missouri. But right now it's backwards. We have a backwards government. A Constitution is a foundational document that is about making the government accountable. It's the guardrails on our government. The same reason, and I think, Isaiah, I think it was you who brought up, why does Amendment 5 not have specific tax rates? Why does it not call for specific services that would go to?
Ben, that's a big problem for a lot
of
people.
The reason is because as a conservative, I don't think these are things that we want in our Constitution, and that's part of the reason why Amendment 4 is so necessary. Our Constitution has ballooned to over 100 pages. Look at the federal Constitution and then look at the Missouri Constitution. The reason is because we are doing very specific policy reform on everything from tax rates to licensure standards to giving rulemaking authority to unelected bureaucrat state agencies, all in our Constitution. We shouldn't be doing that. That's not good for the guardrails of government. It means we can't be responsive in changing statutes when we're trumped by constitutional language, and we can only really make changes once every 2 years after going through a whole constitutional ballot process. It's not good government to do that. That's why we need Amendment 4. But in Amendment 5, we are trying to craft something that actually belongs in the Constitution. What belongs in the Constitution is, one, getting rid of the special interest loopholes that have popped up in the Constitution over the last several years, and undoing those. The other thing is also, we should have the ultimate guardrails. Things like addressing revenue neutrality, the time frame, and saying that making sure that the income tax is forever banned from Missouri once we hit zero. These are big idea items. They're guardrail items that should be in the Constitution. Things like, well, I don't think this particular item that appears in aisle 9 of the grocery store should have sales tax on it. That's a statute. That's not a constitutional provision, because when things change, you can't change it once you've locked it into the Constitution. So when you're looking for, well, I want to know what exactly is addressed, we should be doing that, but we should be doing that statutorily. We don't want that type of stuff to be in our Constitution. That's one reason why we need Amendment 4, and it's also the reason why Amendment 5 is so much shorter. I think Missourians have become accustomed to seeing 30-page and 40-page constitutional amendments from the initiative petition process, from the special interest groups, because they're trying to protect and write in monopolies, and it takes a lot of language to protect a monopoly in the Constitution. Amendment 5, the actual language, what we're doing in the Constitution, is 2.5 pages. That's it. It's not a 40 pages of new constitutional language. It's 2.5 pages. That's what constitutional amendment should look like.
Yeah, and
it is not a long bill and designed to be short and general for that reason.
I think the issue with a lot of people that are against it, Ben, is trust. Mm-hmm. And I want to lay this out for you, and we'll get your opinion on it. I think the trust issue comes from the gasoline tax, which came from Republicans, right? I think most Missourians look at that and go, that was a shitty deal. We didn't want the gasoline tax. We didn't vote for the gasoline tax. And here we got the gasoline tax, and that's coming from the Republican Party. So they're looking at it going, wait a minute, should I trust? Because you're basically saying if this comes over the next 5 years, we could see a turnover twice of Congress. Why not lay out what you guys are thinking, a framework to say, okay, these are the services that we're talking about. Here's where we're going. Because one of the issues that I have, me personally, I look at it and go, do I want to give that power to a future Congress to determine winners and losers on services, right? Because if you say this service is going to get taxed and this one doesn't, now you're kind of affecting the free market because you're picking winners and losers with who you're going to tax on services.
We're already picking winners and losers, but we're not doing it through our Republican process. We're letting the special interests themselves pick the winners and losers by going to the initiative petition process and writing in their own carve-outs. Right now, we have a system that picks winners and losers by saying, well, if you sell shirts, you're going to pay sales tax. But if you're a real estate agent, you're not going to pay sales tax. If you sell grocery items, you're going to pay sales tax. But if you are a trial attorney or some type of attorney or an attorney or CPA, you're not going to pay sales taxes. What's the reason we have a services exemption is because typically service industries are industries that can afford lobbyists, and people who sell goods are mom and pop brick and mortar stores who don't pay for lobbyists and join these big associations to get special interest carve outs. We have a special interest system right now. If you don't trust the government, and you shouldn't, I don't, that's why I ran for office, is because I'm not trustful of the government. And I think the gas tax is a reason. Again, the gas tax wasn't a constitutional amendment. They just did that to us, and they violated Hancock to do it. I think that shows you that the current system is not protecting you in the way we're told it was supposed to protect us. We need to change. If you don't trust the government, that is a reason you should be voting for Amendment 5. Amendment 5 is what puts the guardrails on what eliminating income tax looks like. It puts on, well, it has to be revenue neutral. You're not allowed to grow government. It requires the local governments to reduce their property tax rates, to reduce their sales tax rates. And most importantly, it constitutionally codifies income tax elimination when it happens. Right now, for example, the seniors are a great example to use right now. They have been the first groups to benefit from income tax elimination. 4 years ago, if you were a senior citizen, you were paying income tax on public pensions, Social Security earnings, capital gains. In just the last few years, we have one by one gotten rid of income taxes on each of those items, but it's all been statutory. If you don't trust government, why do you trust government right now to keep protecting your income tax on that? Why do you trust government to keep the income tax rate where it is right now at 4.7? Just 10 years ago, it was 6%. We've been steadily reducing the income tax rate over the last 10 years. But at any point, the government can come back in and re-hike up the income tax rates, can undo the exemptions for that a lot of senior citizens and other groups have. Or even if we just eliminated the income tax and went to zero and found a way to pay for it to make the exemptions work statutorily, what's to stop a future government from coming in and just undoing it? These things need to be constitutionally codified, or we will constantly watch us take 3 steps forward just to take 4 steps back at the end of the day.
Do you think that it creates a, because I would assume lobbyists are going to be knocking on your door. And by the way, I see people commenting. We looked through your MEC filings yesterday and today, and I had somebody who's better at it looking today. I don't see anything nefarious in your bringing in money at all. If I was going to hit, that would have been the first question I would have asked you, Ben. You're all small donations. There's nothing in there that, and I had people that, that don't like A5. They're against it. I said, do you see anything in there that I should ask Ben about? I see nothing in there that concerns me whatsoever. Mostly small donations for you, which I appreciate. It doesn't look like you're getting bought off in any way, shape, or form. So I just want to get that out there because I think it's important to understand that if you had a nefarious reason, if I was looking at, you got big money coming in from somewhere, I would have asked you about it. I didn't see it. Do you think that this creates a scenario where lobbyists are going to be really knocking down the doors of Congress or the General Assembly to get their tax exemptions? Because it does feel like it just, and again, I'm not in government. I'm just saying if I'm in my House rep, I'm assuming that the service industry is going to come out in full force because they're not going to want their service taxed. And it's going to give a lot of power to people within the General Assembly to make determinations on who's going to be taxed and who isn't. And that was my original question is why not lay that out in advance what you guys are thinking? Why not say this is the framework? It's not law, but this is what we want to do, and here's what we're thinking. Because right now, a lot of people in my circles, like, they don't really have a plan. What is the plan? The plan is just to give them the authority to do it. And the reason a lot of people just in their minds go, I don't want to give them authority to do it is because of the gasoline tax. And there's just been a lot of things, the caucus in Missouri, there's a lot of people that it's a little bit of a scam. The grassroots got power and they got taken away from them through, kind of a procedural bunch of nonsense. So there's a lot of distrust issues. What do you say to that? Do you see that as being a problem that, you're going to have a lot of lobbyists lining up in Jefferson City to say, don't serve it, don't tax me. And then it gives all the power to the legislature.
Well, and just to follow up, there's even already a carve out right now. This is line 43 to 45 in the Amendment 5. It says no political subdivision shall adjust its local tax rates in a manner that results in any reduction in funding to any public schools within or serving such political subdivisions. And so there's already a carve out for local taxes with schools. So that's why I have that question too. And I think why a lot of people have that question.
Yeah. So okay. So I'll take the first part of the question first. There's something strange in the argument that, well, I don't trust the legislature to not carve out certain special interests. So I would prefer to give them the power to tax my paycheck and let the special interests keep their constitutional protection. Because that's where we are right now. That is the status quo. Voting against Amendment 5 is a vote for the status quo. The status quo is all these special interests have sales tax carve-outs right now.
I think the argument isn't that we don't want to get rid of income taxes. I think everybody that pays any taxes, they want to pay less taxes. I think it's how we're doing it. I think that's really the question that everybody's coming to me and say, Rob, you're critical of the Republican Party. You're conservative, but you're critical of the Republican Party. Ask these tough questions. One of them is just the way we're going about it. It seems like we don't really have a plan that people can wrap their brain around and go, okay, wait a minute, this is what they're talking about doing. There seems to be a structure that you guys understand, but that the voter doesn't really have an understanding of which services are going to be taxed, which ones aren't. How's this all going to play out? Are the lobbyists going to be knocking down your door because they're going to want to get a carve out for themselves? And then it kind of transfers power into a situation where you guys they'll give you guys a lot of power. You got to admit, Ben, it's going to give you a lot of power because I got to assume every service industry is going to be knocking at your door going, don't do it to us.
I think the power to tax every single Missourian's paycheck is a lot of power. And that's where we are. And so it sounds, absolutely. And I don't, there are two ways. What Amendment 5 does at a pure level, when Amendment 5 is done, is it requires us to eliminate the income tax. It specifies kind of a way we could do that in 5 years, but we're not going to get there without replacing the revenue. The reality is that income tax makes up 60% of our general revenue fund. We could eliminate all public school funding at the state level. We could eliminate all funding for all institutions, all the university institutions, the public universities that we fund. We could stop paying every single person who works inside the Capitol, and we could close every single prison in Missouri, just closed overnight. I don't know what you do with those prisoners, but close it. And we would still be $1 billion short on, after doing all of that together, we would still be $1 billion short on what we need to cut. I think Amendment 5, without doing any type of consumption tax change, Amendment 5 will still eliminate the income tax, but it's not going to be 5 years. It's going to be 20 or 30 years. And maybe that's what Missourians want. And we would have the option of doing that. Say, we're not, the special interests don't want to let us put consumption tax on real estate services or on lawyers or on CPAs or massages, whatever it may be. And the voters don't want it either. And that just means, okay, we're eliminating income tax, but it's going to take us decades instead of years to do it. And that's, if that's where Missourians are, that's fine. The same people who are saying, well, I'm worried about the special interests having a lot of control on you to where they're going to be able to influence you, are the same people saying they don't want to pay that consumption tax on. Well, okay, it sounds like you're aligned with whatever the special interest is then in terms of what you want in this particular regard. I think it's absolutely foolish to think there's not going to be a legislative special interest fight on the other side of Amendment 5 on which services try to keep their exemptions and carve-outs, and which industries and which services are going to end up getting taxed like the rest of the industries we currently tax. That's absolutely going to happen. My point is that is happening in a lot of other areas. It's happening through the tax credits we give to the income tax framework. It's happening in the regulatory system. The problem is in the actual sales tax rate itself, it's not happening. It's only the reason it's not happening is because everyday Missourians have already lost because the special interests don't even have to engage in the debate. They don't even have to come out in the open and say, we want a lesser rate. Now they will have to, on the other side of Amendment 5, you will see lobbyists showing up for committee hearings and openly arguing why they think their industry deserves to pay a lesser sales tax rate than everyone else in Missouri does. Right now, they get to hide behind the constitutional language, and we never even get to have that debate. I think the people of Missouri are entitled to see that debate out in the open and watch their legislators decide which special interests may or may not get a tax carve out. I'll tell you where I am. You keep saying that. And I think it's a fair criticism that the plan is not out there in terms of what would be taxed. I can speak for myself what I'll be lobbying for. I've already said I don't want revenue neutrality. I want this to be paired with actual spend cuts. Just because we can't get to the full $8 billion in 5 years of replacement is not a reason why we shouldn't deliver any types of cuts at all. We should at least be trying to cut $1 billion, maybe $2 billion, and help use this as an opportunity to actually reduce the size of government as well. The other thing I'll tell you is I don't favor any types of exemptions for services. The one area where I'm a little bit more prone to accept is the medical services. One, half of them are already going to be exempted anyway. And two, the other half is a lot of types of insurance payments. We just buy medical services differently than we do any other kind of service. And I'm not sure it's fair to everyday Missourians to put sales taxes and create this problem of, okay, are the adjustments insurance companies negotiate for? Are you paying on that? Are you paying on their payments, the copay? It is just a huge mess that I think, and that is the one exception I would make where I think you will see, and I think the governor is right to say I would refuse to sign a bill that would tax medical services. But I think everything else, I'm a lawyer. I think lawyers should be paying sales taxes in the same way that brick and mortar goods stores do. I think real estate agents should be paying sales taxes on their services. I think contractors, hairdressers, I think all economic activity and industries should be treated the same as much as we can, because that's ultimately how we stop picking winners and losers. So I can tell you what I would advocate for, and I can tell you exactly what the rate would be if we did that system. If we didn't do any exemptions other than the federally required ones and the Missouri constitutional required ones that will be left in place after Amendment 5, the sales tax rate would be 4.9%, not an additional 4.9%. It would go from 4.2% to 4.9% is where that rate would be. If you want specific numbers, there it is.
And that would be a flat tax across all services except for.
It would be all, yeah, that would be what would be applied then to all goods and services. And if we did it at the local level and allowed the local governments to take that, they would then have to fall their rate back, which means I think you would actually see the overall sales tax rate. When you say, okay, well, I don't pay 4.2 or 4.9%, I pay 10%, I pay 9%. That number would stay right at that same point because the local governments would have to start cutting back their sales tax rate to make up for the additional revenue.
What if we can't afford that, though? I can tell you my city can't afford to cut back on our local taxes right now. What if we couldn't afford to do that?
Well, you would be getting it's revenue neutral. You're not losing revenue. You're getting the expanded sales tax base too. If we start telling lawyers that, hey, you're going to pay sales taxes on the invoices you have, and we start like, you're going to pay a 4.9% sales tax, to the state of Missouri, that also would expand whatever the local rates is. So say your local governments are charging 5%, they would also be paying the 5% on those lawyer fees as well, which means they get more, which means their rate is actually, it's not going to be 5%, it's going to come down to 4% or 3.5% to make up for that additional revenue they're getting. So no one is actually giving up revenue. They're just giving up the rate. And the goal is to put them back at the same revenue.
Very good. Isaiah, you got any more?
No, that's why I was just curious, because I know that's where we struggle in St. Clair. We're a small city, and so I've talked to the city about making tax cuts, and we just can't afford it, and so that's why I was just curious about that.
When you guys are talking to each other, Ben, is there any conversation? Because I see people asking about just pure, we got to cut the budget. I think you guys try to cut $4 billion out of the budget, but it's doubled over the last 6 or 7 years. Do you guys just go in and say, you know what? we got to look at this thing. We're bringing in way too much money. There's too much tax burden on the citizens of Missouri. We need to get rid of this, and this, because I'm looking at all kinds of malfeasance within the school systems, and yet that nobody wants to touch that because it, in the mind of the taxpayer, we have to educate our kids. Therefore, we don't want to touch anything that would educate our kids. Yet I see a lot of malfeasance. I could tell you some stories that would blow your mind, I think, about what goes on within the school systems. We don't touch that. What's your just take on the idea of just cutting the budget in general? Just saying, you know what, even schools, we got to cut some of this stuff out of our budget and work a little thinner.
Well, most of the growth you've seen in that budget over that time is outside of the general revenue fund, which is what we're talking about when we're talking about income tax. That growth from $30 billion budgets back in the 2010s to now we're at 50 billion. A lot of that is because of the federal money that's been pumped in. It's because of dedicated funds that specific agencies have protected, like Amendment 1, the DNR fund that Missourians are going to have to vote on now to either do away with or renew. No on Amendment 1. That perpetuates the sales tax. And it's non-appropriated money. It doesn't touch your elected officials don't touch it. It just goes straight to unelected bureaucrats to start spending. Those types of things have been, and those exist outside of the general revenue fund. That's where a lot of the growth is. But there are some of us who are advocating for cuts, regardless of what happens with Amendment 5. Amendment 5 is not going to change the reality that we are going to have to cut. I think the balanced budget amendment is going to become a very real constraint that we're just not going to have the money to spend, and constitutionally we can't. And we've been able to skate by on the revenues and federal money coming in for the last several years. That's going to end now. I think you're going to have to see real meaningful budget cuts when we start doing the budget process for 2027, regardless of what happens with Amendment 5. And some of us have been arguing, some of us are, like myself, are regular voters against the budget because we think that not enough has been done on this in this regard. And eventually it's not going to be good policy that causes us to cut the budget. It's going to be the reality that we don't have the actual dollars to spend in state government. And I think that is a separate issue from what we do with income tax, regardless of if we vote for Amendment 5 or don't vote for Amendment 5. There's not more money showing up until maybe some economic growth happens. But I think that's why revenue neutrality is important in Amendment 5. It's because we are going to continue at best to just have the money we have right now coming in. And that means we are still looking at cuts. We are still looking at Missouri needing to do these cuts regardless of what we do with income tax. That to me is an important argument, but it's a different argument. We're talking about what is the most efficient and least obstructive way we can fund our government. Income tax is probably one of the most obstructive, least moral ways in which we fund our government. It's reaching into everyone's paycheck, taking a little bit out every single month, every single pay cycle, and then requiring them to do a tax return is just wrong. We can do better. We can have a more efficient system. But how we fund the government and where we spend are two very different concepts. Both require a lot of attention.
Travis Hines, one of our listeners, says, how come there are no details from day one? Missourians should at least have that to make a decision, but the decision will be left in the hands of people that haven't even been elected yet. We asked you that a little bit earlier. What is your take on that? Just because you're going to, if it's over 5 years, you could have the General Assembly turn over twice in the House, and we don't know what they're thinking. That's why I said a plan, like some form of structure, I think would ease a lot of the distrust, I think, is the word.
Yeah, and I think it's I'm like, I've been very specific in terms of rates and specific industries, and I understand though, like, yeah, but I'm not the king. I don't get to say that that's what's going to be. But no politician, either future or present, is going to be able to give you that guarantee. But these are typically, the idea of what rate should be. Like, these are fights that should happen within the Capitol and will need to happen within the Capitol. They're going to be exposed to the legislative process like everything else we do. If you don't trust us to chew gum, you certainly shouldn't be trusting us to walk, but we're walking every day. We're running, in fact, down there on all these other issues. That is the point of the legislative process, to have these arguments. And I can tell you what I want. Another legislature could tell you what they want to see from that. And I can give you very specifics. And I believe I've tried to give specifics as much as I can in this talk, and I do in all my talks. But I can only say, well, this is one way in which it could work. It's going, I can't guarantee you what another legislature is going to do. What I can say is that Amendment 5 gives you some pretty good ideas on the constraints that, like, it gives the constraints, which means you have some pretty good ideas about where it's going to actually fall and what these are going to look like. We're only, we can, the only new things we can essentially tax are services and goods that got an exemption in Section 26. We have to do those. We have to make those changes within 5 years. We can't make them in year 6, 7, or going on, because then Section 26 closes right back off, which means it's going to be done in 5 years, and it's going to have to be revenue neutral. So you can say, well, I don't know what I might trust Ben Keithley to make these decisions, but I don't know who's going to come in after Ben Keithley. Fair enough. But whoever comes in after me is going to have the same restrictions. They have to be revenue neutral. They have to have these done by 2032, and they have to eliminate the income tax. It has to actually go to zero. And those constraints give you a pretty good idea of what is actually what could happen on the worst case scenario, and what may, what can happen and what can't happen, have to all fit within those constraints, and those all exist in Amendment 5. If you're asking what is the specific rate, it's a moving target based on timing and how many exemptions we have to have, but those are healthy discussions and debates we should have. That's why we have elected government.
Isaiah, anything?
Yeah,
something that by the way.
And I think that these are great points that you've made, Representative Keithley. These are great. This is the best argument that I've heard for A5 and A4 from anyone, and being willing to answer questions, especially hard questions that we're asking you. And so I really do appreciate that. The thing that I also hear a lot from people is the money, right? So I'll just read to you really quick. This is all from the MEC. And so Missouri Promise Inc. gave $1.9 million. They gave $16,000. Secure Missouri, which has done nothing. Literally, if you look at their Facebook page, there's 2 posts, right? Their website is a joke. But Secure Missouri has given $1.5 million to Missouri Promise PAC. America Advancement Inc. has given $1 million to Missouri Promise PAC. American Policy Coalition has given $300,000 to Missouri Promise PAC. And so, I mean, just a lot. I'm a very logical person. If this is so good for Missourians, why do we have to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars? I got the Facebook is very transparent with their advertising. I have Missouri Promise's advertising budget pulled up right here. Since November, they spent $300,000 just on Facebook ads alone. If this is good for Missourians, why do they have to spend so much money on this? I don't, I would not have to spend that much money to cut property taxes. I can tell you that. And
yes,
so
you would.
Why would we need to do this?
Yeah, no, you would. You would have to spend money to do that, because
I'm joking. It's kind of a joke.
The simple reason is because groups like the realtors, groups that are enjoying their tax loopholes in the Constitution right now, are willing to spend millions of dollars to lie about Amendment 5. And we are seeing it happen in real time. If you do not offer an alternative narrative, if you just allow the lies to go out and stand, and you don't try to go out and counter them, you don't try to go out and explain the bill, you will lose at the ballot box, because the voters don't read it. The voters aren't going to read it, and they're not supplied with the actual language on it. They get a ballot summary. And Missourians at this point have been tricked enough on these ballots summaries from the special interests, not so much from the legislature. The constitutional amendments from the initial petition process have left us with 50-word ballot summaries that are backed up by 50-page constitutional amendments. Missourians know that, and so whatever the narrative is out whatever the YouTube ads say or the Facebook posts say, maybe all a Missourian knows going in. And if you let the special interest groups drive that narrative, they will say whatever they have to say to protect the system that benefits them right now. So that's why we have to spend the money. That's why the money has to go forward, because the special interest groups will lie about what's in the bill to pass what they want to do. I always tell people, if you take nothing else away, if you just refuse to listen to me, I ask you to just do this one thing and if you're going to take one thing away, let it be this. Read the bill yourself. It's 2.5 pages long. It's constitutional language. It's not like the nitty gritty of the regulatory framework that goes around the tax collection. That shouldn't be in our Constitution. It is the guardrails. It's the system. It's the requirements of revenue neutrality, of the time frame in which it has to happen, and the shalls and the shall nots are all there. 2.5 pages. Read it for yourself. Don't listen to the liberal media. Don't listen to the special interest groups that will say whatever they need to protect the framework that currently benefits them. If you're going to ask, well, why is there millions of dollars being pumped in on the yes side? I mean, I can answer it the other way. We really should ask ourselves, who is so motivated to spend millions of dollars from on the no side to get rid of M5? Because it's not everyday Missourians who are funding the No on 5 campaign. It's groups like the realtors, it's groups like attorneys, it's professional groups that have spent money in the past getting constitutional protections for their industry. It's groups that are benefiting off of the current tax credit system because they're not paying income tax and they're not paying sales tax. I'll ask the question the same way. Millions of dollars are coming in on the yes side. Absolutely. There's also millions of dollars coming in on the no side, and it's not from grassroots Missourians.
Where can we find that, Ben?
Well, the thing is that the realtors gave the money after Missouri Promise PAC got the money first. I think that's a good caveat to help the people understand, though, is that Missouri Promise PAC got $1.9 million, and then just to spite them, they donated $1.9 million and $1. And so I think that's an important caveat to understand too.
Well, the timing of it, I'm not sure the specific timing when donations came in, but I'll tell you, the Missouri realtors were 2 years ago in the Capitol promising and vowing to spend millions of dollars against any effort to change Section 26 or eliminate Missouri's income tax. I think for them, it's more about Section 26. They're fine not paying income tax. But what they don't want to do is be treated like all the other industries. And they've been very clear for years in the Capitol. The donation came in whenever the donation came in. You probably know the date better than I do, but what I can tell you is I have personally heard their promises to spend the money that is now actually coming through. So the idea that, okay, well, Missouri Promise did it first, did it before these other groups spent it? Sure. But those groups were promising to spend the money long before. So I think it's fair to say we knew this fight was going to happen. We knew these groups were going to come out and fund massive campaigns to protect their special carve-outs in the Constitution. And I'm not going to be surprised if the money did eventually come in. It's a good thing we had ours up and running too on the yes side.
Hey, Ben, do you think there's any way that when you say revenue neutral, is there any language in there that allows for more, I'm talking about, just legal language. Is there any way that you guys can actually bring in more money doing it this way? Because a lot of people think you got you had a surplus. It's dwindling. According to Fitzpatrick, it's going to be gone very soon. So a lot of people look at this timing and go, okay, all of a sudden we've went through this surplus that we have in the state of Missouri. Now they're coming out with Amendment 5. And there's, like I said, the trust is what you guys are going to have to get over. I'm just telling you. They see the timing as going, okay, now they want to do this because now they're going to have to bring in that revenue because they're going to have a shortfall soon. How do you answer that question?
So first off, I would say if there was any group that's actually got their hands in the big cookie jar of government that would benefit from increased revenues and this being the system, then I would expect to see them in full force supporting it. Groups like the NEA, you would expect to be full throttled support for Amendment 5. That's not the case. In fact, they're on the opposite side. Every liberal bureaucratic group would be supporting Amendment 5, and they're almost all universally against Amendment 5. What does that tell you about where they think it's going to lead in terms of funding our massive government bureaucracy? But the other thing I would say is the specific language, I can tell you where the few places where you would see growth, and we've already kind of touched on them earlier on this. One, on the local level. While the state government has to be revenue neutral, local government doesn't have to quite be revenue neutral. They do, except for a one-time 3% bump they're allowed to get. They have to be 97% of revenue neutral in setting the rates. The reason for that is basically because it's defined by 2026 dollars, and they're going to have to make these decisions in 2027 or 2028 even on what their rates are going to have to be reduced to, which means their revenues in 28 are probably going to be higher than they were in 2026. So they get a one-time 3% bump. I would argue that 3% bump, if those decisions are coming in 2028, is probably less than what their revenue is may actually be just from inflationary growth. It just depends on what the jurisdiction is, but they are allowed a one-time 3% bump, which is essentially an inflation adjustment. State government doesn't get that because we're making the decisions in kind of more real time, and we have to cut anyway, let's be honest. The one other area is what we talked about is on a year-to-year level, because of the margin for error in Hancock we talked about, you could see a slight deviation from again, right now, we could get a $93 million bump. Now, on $8 billion, $93 million isn't a whole lot, but in any single year, we could potentially see now a greater than $93 million. It still has to be calculated out reasonably to be revenue neutral, which means you're not going to see that number. Like, we're not going to see $1 billion of growth off of this. You might see $100 million of growth in one particular year. But by the next year, Amendment 5 requires that to get returned back to the voters to get back to revenue neutrality. So in the short term, you might see $100 million out of the $8 billion we're trying to cut off the income tax. You might see, hey, $100 million goes extra here. But that would just get given right back and more and deeper income tax cuts the next year. So long term, there really is no way out for the state government, and the local governments just get that inflationary bump. Outside of that, the revenue neutral language is there, and there's really not exceptions to it, other than those two things we talked about.
Okay, but relatively absolute though. So you're not going to, in your mind, there's no legal language that allows a windfall of tax money to come into the government based on the way you guys have this structured.
No, and I think any, and I'm not saying that government wouldn't try that. Government might try a trick like, oh, well, we're gonna, we're going to just pretend we're just going to call it revenue neutral, but ignore it. I mean, at the end of the day, all this stuff is subject to legal challenges like it always has been. The language itself is as clear about revenue neutrality as it possibly can be. And any legal challenge that says, well, you said you were supposed to be revenue neutral and you made a rate that resulted in non-revenue neutrality. That money has to be given back, or you have to invalidate that bill in its entirety. The legal argument is about as good as you're ever going to be able to get off of the language in Amendment 5 for that.
Gotcha. Do you think the legislator is going to be watching that, or do you think that's something the citizens are going to have to watch for and petition for themselves?
Well, you'll certainly have some members of the General Assembly arguing for it, like you do right now. There's 197 members of the General Assembly, and that's important because as long as you have 2 or 3 or 10 or 15 legislators who are unwilling to go along with specific lies, then it's out there. The narrative is out there. We have watchdogs in the government right now. Maybe not enough, not as many as we would like. But we do have watchdogs who are calling out a lot of this types of these activities. I like to think of myself as one. I vote against the budget, so I call things wasteful and talk about different types of ways where we are overtaxing specific industries and turning around and giving credits to show favoritism to other ones all the time. It's important to have those people, and it will continue to be important to have those people calling that out. And I don't know that it'll be up to the general citizen. But I think to the extent we ever had to enforce the revenue neutrality language, we have given every Missourian and every General Assembly person who, elected member of the General Assembly who wants to do the right thing and honor the Constitution and the language in Amendment 5, we have given them the best possible weapon with the way the revenue neutrality language is written out right now. And that was important to me in crafting the bill and doing this to make sure this is not going to be an avenue to grow government. In fact, not only am I not interested in finding a way to replace the budget shortfalls that we have right now, because I think we're actually overspending, I'm not even interested in growing Missouri's economy so vastly that we end up growing government along with it. I don't want Missouri to be a victim of its own success. Economic growth should mean victories for the free market. It should mean victories for Missouri, for Missouri families, for Missouri businesses. It should not mean victory for government getting more revenue.
Did you see this Joe Nicola, Senator Joe Nicola put something out? He had a tax guy named Ray, and he was against Amendment 5, and he had an interview with Joe Nicola. Did you see that by chance?
I have not, no.
Okay, I'm going to get that to you. I just want to get your opinion on it. And then secondly, since you're an attorney and you're talking about taxing attorney services, this doesn't really benefit your business at all. This would actually be...
I would argue, I don't know that it makes real change. I mean, the reality of the matter is whether I do it consciously or subconsciously, like any business owner, I have to turn around in April and pay 4.7% of my income to the government anyway. If I get my numbers off and I'm not charging my clients enough, and I have to turn around and pay 4.7% of money that was otherwise going to go put bread on the table for my family, then I'm not doing my job. At some level, that calculation's happening anyway. What this does change is my clients, my customers are now, when they get their invoice, they're not just going to see the final bill, which again, I'm going to pay 4.7% to the government anyway. They're going to see my bill plus, plus the sales tax on services. But yeah, as an attorney, I I I think it's a wash on tax, whether you're paying income tax or consumption tax. In terms of for the business owner themselves, is essentially a question of transparency, not dollars and cents. Uh, but I think the if you say like, oh, but this is a new tax I pay, yeah, it's true. I'm an industry that is currently exempt from sales tax, and I am arguing vociferously to put the tax on because I think that's what's right for Missourians.
Yeah, and I know you a little bit. We have some mutual friends, and I'm not questioning your integrity at all. In fact, I'm trying to remind people that I believe you're trying to do the right thing. I honestly believe that. If I didn't believe it, I would. I think I would tell you, Ben. Last thing, I just got to run one other thing past you, and I do this with every single person that comes on from the Missouri government. There's a guy by the name of Jeff Winehouse. I don't know if you know this story, but I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. Jeff Winehouse was an independent journalist in Franklin County. He was railroaded. I think everybody with a functioning brain can see it. Anybody can see it. I've not talked to one person in politics that doesn't agree with me. He was an independent journalist. He had the highway patrol coming after him because he was investigating the highway patrol. They knocked on his door. They said they smelled marijuana. In order to serve this, they got a search warrant. They went into his home. They took his phones and computers away from him. In an effort to get them back, he had to meet the highway patrol that was outside of their jurisdiction. They didn't have anybody from the local government with them when they did this, which is illegal as well.
Hey Rob, I lost your audio when you went to the picture on there.
Okay. Let me give this to you really quick. I want to do it fast. And I just want to get your take on it. I want you to be aware.
Can you hear me, Ben? Can you hear us?
See, Jeffrey Winehouse strikes again.
How about now?
He's looking at us, but I don't think he hears us. It's my favorite part of the whole thing.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I can't hear Rob.
Yeah, give him a thumbs up. We can hear him, but he can't.
Can you hear us? He can't hear us.
Okay. He might have to leave.
See if you can communicate with him, because I do want to get this question. I'm going to ask every single person in Missouri government to help me out with this particular situation. I want to, and Ben's an attorney too, so he might understand it just a little bit better than some of us.
Yeah, so
nothing's easy. You got to fight through the technical issues. AI is going to figure it all out.
It makes it. It's the cell phones. When people join on their cell phones, every time we always have issues.
I see somebody there saying it's amazing that people think we didn't read the bill. We read the bill. I'm a little bit different in as much as I don't understand the bill necessarily. When I read it, I'm not an attorney, so it's kind of hard for me to, if there's any issues with it, I wouldn't recognize it. See if you can get him back, though. I do want to ask him.
Yeah,
I know he's probably thinking, what is this guy doing? He's got me for like 3 hours here.
He's like, I got a job to do too.
Right.
He's like, I'm supposed to be in court right now.
I hope that the Jeffrey Winehouse bots didn't get in the way of this conversation here.
I know, right?
I'm very conspiratorial.
Yes, very, very.
Did he respond at all?
No, not back in here yet.
All right. Let me get him.
No worries. Oh, there we go.
There he is.
Let's get
him one more time. Ben, you're a gem, brother. I do appreciate you sticking this out with us. I do, because I know we spent a lot of your time today. But one more question, and it's about this Jeffrey Winehouse guy. Let me give you just the scenario, and then I'm going to send you a documentary that was done about him. Jeff Winehouse was an independent journalist and reporter out in Franklin County. He was investigating the highway patrol and some malfeasance that he believed was going on. He got a little bit lippy. He did. He got a little bit aggressive. According to the FBI, he didn't do anything illegal. He had a Missouri highway patrolman come from out of his jurisdiction, knock on his door, claims that he smelled marijuana. One guy said he did. One guy said he didn't. I think, if you can smell marijuana, you can smell marijuana. So I think they used a trumped up charge to serve a search warrant, marijuana at your own home. You know what I'm saying, Ben? And they said they got a search warrant. They go in, they take his phones and his computers. Then a couple weeks later, they say they want to meet him at a filling station that they assumed would be abandoned. They meet with him there. And within 12 seconds out of getting out of his car, now we got to remember, they've looked through all the information that he has, and he's investigating them. So beautiful. And then 12 seconds after he gets out of his car, he gets shot twice in the chest and twice in the forehead. He survives it. After he gets out of the hospital, they come and arrest him about a few weeks later, and he's now serving a 30-year prison sentence for something. And what's funny about this is he video recorded the entire thing from a spy watch that he had on. that the officer didn't know that he had on. So you get to see the officer's testimony originally, where he says he was running donuts around me, he was acting all crazy, and then you have the video that didn't happen. This guy lied through his teeth. He was on drugs when he did it, and he's in prison for 30 years. And I can't get anybody in power to say, wait a minute, justice is justice here. We got to have some justice. I mean, you're an attorney, you got to have some justice in your heart. Nobody's doing anything to help this guy, and I'm frustrated by it. I just got to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where'd you say that happened?
This is in Franklin County.
Wow.
I told Ben Brown. Ben Brown is a senator out there. We told Ben Brown. Everybody in Franklin County seems to know the story, and I don't see anybody saying, Rob, you're wrong. Every person I talk to says I'm right. I've had his family on. Nobody disagrees with what I'm saying, yet nobody will help him. I think the only thing he can do now is get clemency from Kehoe. So I'm trying to get Republicans to say, hey, Mr. Kehoe, we got basically a political prisoner in the state of Missouri that you need to react to. Because right now he's been in prison for 13 years. Man, he's been attacked there twice. I'm not saying he's a saint. I don't know anything about him. I just know that he reminds me of me because I kind of peck in the eyes of some very powerful people on occasion.
And that highway patrolman, he's not a highway patrolman anymore.
He was let go of his duties immediately.
Interesting.
Right. So it's just, I'm going to send you this, and I just hope you'll take a little bit. It's about an hour long. You'll be fascinated. It's really good.
Yeah.
I'll send you this documentary on a text message when we get out. If you are inclined to help me out in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to talk to everybody that I can to see if we can get this guy some justice. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yeah, I'm happy to look for. I wasn't even aware of the story until
most people aren't. I wasn't aware of it either, Ben. I lived here at that time, and I was not familiar with the story. But
amazing how the media picks and chooses what we're allowed to care about.
Yes.
Lieutenant Governor Wassinger does know.
Yeah, Wassinger knows. I talked to Wassinger about it. I've talked to several, but I just want to talk to everybody I can because I just think this guy should be out of prison. I don't think he should be in prison. He's got 6 kids, I believe, and his son was on the show with me. His brother has been communicating through me, and I just want to get him some justice. I think it'd be great for the Republican Party. How about that? I think it would. I think when, you take on these stories, people go, okay, well, there's justice here. These people are fighting for justice. I think it would be good politically as well. Deal.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
on.
and I just think it's about what's right and wrong. And,
Correct.
Government, you're not here to serve government. It's, government is here to stand up and safeguard your liberties. And that is us not just failing, but working counter to our basic and fundamental job. It's like government, you have one job. And it's amazing how if we're not, the only thing we're efficient at is mucking that up.
I sometimes tend to agree. Ben, thanks so much for all the time, man. I know I kept you a long time. I'm going to give you a campaign donation just for sticking it out for this long.
Well, I appreciate it, Rob. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so
Have
much.
a great day, my man.
Take care. Bye.
All right, everybody. Ben Keithley. He's from Chesterfield. He's a Republican. Listen, I know Ben. There's some people that I know in Missouri government that I don't, whether you agree or disagree with them, Isaiah, I do not believe that Ben is trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes.
Best answers I've heard yet.
Yeah, I've been talking to him about taxes for a couple years now, and then this comes along. He's lined up with Bishop Davidson, who's also communicated with me. All I'm saying to people is that you can have a disagreement without putting nefarious motives on somebody like Ben. I just don't see it anywhere. I was looking through his MEC filings, all very small donations, 500, 1,000, 2,000, nothing that would make you go, wait a minute, a $250,000 campaign donation. I want to see that. I think he has like $60,000 in his war chest, right? So
strong argument for Amendment 4 too. When the way he put it there is, I believe how Brian Wolfen puts it as well.
Is Bryant for it?
Yes. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. So he is for it. And how Representative Keithley just described it, it does make sense. The problem is that it also takes the power away from the people, right? So by taking the power away from the special interests, you're also taking the power away from the people. And so I think that's the problem I have, right?
Did you see John Grady?
He said,
That's why I like John. John's hilarious.
That's good. But that's the concern I have. But I appreciate the idea that he's like, no, we want amendments like this. We want bills like this that are a couple pages. We don't want these special interest bills, these, really long 50-page. I understand that, right? I can get on board for that.
Yeah, the issue that still sticks in the back of my mind is I would like it laid out in advance. Yeah. I think he is on the same page with us. If you're going to tax services, you tax them equally.
I love that he said, hey, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to even cut spending. That's music.
He is a fiscal conservative. I mean, if you have any conversations with him over a beer or to hang out with him, he's a fiscal conservative. That's for sure. What do people think of it? I mean, what do people think? I know there's a lot of people. That's what I try not to do, Isaiah. My gut feeling is that I just cannot get over my distrust of what's going on in Missouri government. That's a really hard hurdle for me to climb. But I want to be fair. I want to hear it out. I want to really contemplate it, because if we make a recommendation, right? If People's Lobby Missouri or the Rob Carter Show makes a recommendation to people, I don't want to mess that up. I just take it to heart too much. If I mess things up for people, I don't want to do it. So I want to get all of the information. I don't want to run with the crowd, and I don't want to, I don't want to apply motives when they're not there. I don't want to do
Yeah, of course.
And
I thought it was great that you said, hey, because people were asking, like, where's he getting his donations from? Where is he getting his donations? And you did a great job of saying, hey, we already looked into that. There's nothing there.
First thing this morning was
that was the first thing we were looking into, so we could talk to him about that, because we do see people that do get money from them, right? And so that's something that
I thought his answer about Delaware was kind of interesting too, because what I'm thinking he's getting at is that might be Missouri money. Yeah, it might be Missouri money.
Yeah,
it's just organized in Delaware because of tax implications.
Yeah, corporate.
Money, and I don't really have.
I've helped organize a company into Delaware for tax purposes.
I was set up with the original 501c4. I was set up in Wyoming, and everybody went crazy. I'm like, all right, I'll move it to Missouri. But the guy who put me in Wyoming said, this is just a good tax benefit for you. You don't like paying taxes, do you, Rob? And I said, no, I don't like paying taxes. He goes, we'll set it up in Wyoming. Right.
Yeah.
But everybody went crazy.
What Jake just said here. Sorry. Whoops. He said, I just can't trust government. His arguments aren't bad, but the legislature is full of isn't full of Ben. Yeah, that's why I was asking him that. I was like, do you think it's the legislators, or do you think it's the people that are going to have to hold them accountable? Because I don't think the assemblymen are going to hold them accountable, because they're going to be changing and just becoming more establishment. That's what I see. You know what I mean? Just the reality, I guess.
How about that? John says, I'll offer up a bourbon and a cigar discourse session on Amendment 5 at Grady's Crooked Halo Mercantile.
Love it. I love that.
And a Pretty Patriot has a good question too. And she said, why didn't he just say that? I was reading between the lines to her point. It seemed like that was the answer that he was giving was the answer that he was trying to give was that it doesn't really matter. It's within the state. I mean, within the country. It's not from out of the country, which I guess is the argument on Amendment 4. I think it might've been, his answer may have been, and the way I asked the question is what I'm saying, but I think I got the gist of it.
Yeah. Well, then that's why I had to ask also, then, if the policy is good, it doesn't matter where the money comes from. That was the logic. And so I had to just flesh that logic out there, because, I talk about it all the time. I love logic. I study logical fallacies, right? I'm a nerd about that stuff. And so, that's just how my brain works. And so if you're saying that the money that's coming from special interests, because they're coming from a Delaware company, and it seems like it's, American money, right? Mm-hmm. Because the policy is good, we don't really need to ask questions, right? Then I would say that it doesn't matter where it comes from in general. Then, it could come from Germany. Who cares, right? If the policy is good.
I think that's a logical way to
navigate. Right? I think so. Yeah. And I think he acknowledged. I'm not saying he didn't acknowledge that. I think he did acknowledge that. But I think that's the natural question that people just ask.
I see Ben. This is my impression of Ben Keithley.
It seems like he wants to cut taxes. I will say that.
I think Ben is a good man. I mean that sincerely. I think he's a good man. I think he's trying to do the right thing. I think he believes in this cause. I think he's very interested in taxes. I think he's also another one of these guys that I think is very wise in the way they work through the Republican Party. Because I've had some questions. I got upset with him one time when he didn't vote for Justin Sparks. I was like, Ben, he vote. But I think, he looks at it, and I think a lot of people did. Even Holly Jones got all upset with me because, she didn't vote for Justin Sparks for Speaker of the House. And people remember that conversation back in the day. But I do have to, I must be wise enough to recognize that people make decisions because they're playing a longer game. They know they know the system is this way, and they're going to play through that system. I get that. It's not the way I would work it. I'm a little bit more like Bryant Wolfen. And, but you could say Bryant Wolfen's not effective. I think even Bryant would say that's kind of hard for him to get anything done. He says he's been marginalized because of that vote.
Mm-hmm. That was the purpose of my questioning, asking about if the legislature are going to be responsible for holding the people, the legislation, the assembly basically accountable for not being revenue neutral, right? Or is it going to have to be the people? Because he says, like, if you got a few good assembly people, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. We have a few good right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of trust us. That's what a lot of, and you said it great to him, Rob. You said, hey, your biggest hurdle is that people don't trust you. You're gonna have to get over that hurdle.
Yeah, that's the hurdle they got to fix. That's what if they're going to sell a 5. You can see the language, right? Because Freedom Principle is another grassroots organization that's out there, and they're kind of I feel kind of a little bit of there's a coordination with party leadership. I kind of sense that.
Yeah.
Either that or they're in complete lockstep with everything that they say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you look at their commentary on social media, if you're just a Missourian and you're watching all this conversation on social media about A4 and A5 in particular, when you read the comments underneath, they're just brutal. I mean, there's 50, 60, 70 comments, and they're all against A4 and A5.
Yeah.
And as you're looking at that, I keep thinking to myself, are these guys for or against A5? Because if you continue to post these things, and then there's 100 comments underneath that are all against it, are you really serving your cause? It's almost like you should just keep it quiet because you're getting so much pushback on social media. I don't know that it's benefiting you in any particular way. Chuck Keeney makes a good point. One of our listeners, he says, Rob, if they would make this bill substantially revenue negative, then I might gain some trust. And I think that's exactly what Ben said he would do. He goes, if it were up to me, I would use it to cut the spending, right? And I think the big argument is who's going to be here 4 years from now?
Yeah.
This 5-year deal, who's going to be here 4 or 5 years from now? What are they going to be doing? And can we trust the legislative process with new people coming in 4 or 5 years ago, even if the people that are organizing it right now have the best interest at heart?
I do like the protections he brought up that I was not fully, I knew of how they were kind of saying they were working, but him explaining the protections there, I do appreciate that there's some protections to hold them accountable to that revenue neutrality. So, just being unbiased, right? That's something that I do appreciate to understand, because it is an accountability mechanism that they've put in there. And so we do have to acknowledge that, at least, you know what I mean? As much as it's a lot of trust them, you know,
that's the issue. I really do. I think
that's the biggest issue. They do have a accountability mechanism. Now, how would that work? Would we even have, if the legislation's not for it, but the people are for going to the Supreme Court, would it work? You know what I mean? That's my questions then.
Can we be positive for a minute, Isaiah?
Yeah.
I want to be positive for just a second, because generally speaking, I'm negative when it comes to government. I got to say, I think there's a Real Talk is having I'll promote it for them if they don't mind. I'm not associated with Real Talk Radio at all anymore, but they're having an event with Lisa Panette from Shield Maidens.
Yep.
I believe there's going to be some politicians that are there, and they're going to answer everybody's questions. It's going to be an open forum, as I understand it. And if you have questions about these amendments, Real Talk Radio is putting on an event. I think it's the 16th. If anybody knows, just let me know. But I think it's the 16th. This
Jacob,
is what
here. I know you know.
This is what our organization has been asking for from the very beginning. We want to have conversations with you. We the people of Missouri and the people around the country want to have an open forum. They want to have real questions. They don't want town halls where the questions are picked in advance and the tough questions are put aside, or this person's a little bit angry and they might get a little bit aggressive, so we don't have that person there. No, we are the people. We want to have our representatives in front of us at all times. We want to be able to ask them questions. We want to understand where they're coming from. If it doesn't make sense to us, we tell them it doesn't make sense. I saw a lot of people saying they didn't understand it. And the more somebody on in the chat was saying, the more I listen to them, the more confused I get. And that's.
I can understand that for some people. Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. The idea is that these people are that's their job and that's their duty. You think Ben wants to spend an hour and a half talking to us on a Tuesday, right? He probably doesn't, but he did, right? And that's just the duty of elected representatives. And I think it's a great thing. I think Lisa Panette and her group, Shield Maidens of Missouri, she's going to be. It looks like she's going to be on Doug Billings' show. It looks like. So she's going to be on Doug Billings' show, but I also think there is. I also think there's an event on the 16th. And he's Jake Jackson says Heather Overstreet will be at the event. I might even be there. It's the 16th, right? So I'll be in town on the 16th. 16th is what, 14th? That's a Thursday?
Yeah. If they do, they don't have anything on their Facebook page that I can find here. The 18th, Stockton. I'm scrolling.
I'm pretty sure it's the 16th.
Yeah, just nothing on their Facebook page that I can find right now.
If anybody knows, let me know. But I would show up if you got questions and you're still concerned about it. Listen, this affects your life. You know what I mean? Missouri residents, you got to pay attention to these things. This will affect your life. Yep, it's the 16th, Jake Jackson says. Yep. So it's the 16th. I think it's out in O'Fallon, Missouri. If you want to go check it out, ask all the questions, get the answers, make sure you've done your due diligence and make a decision when it comes time to vote. And if the vote matters because the elections are on the up and up, you'll have a say. If they're not, then you won't.
Just got the graphic here.
Come on, Isaiah. I'm making jokes here. Nobody's paying attention to my great,
right?
jokes, my incredible sense of humor.
Someone said in the chat that they agree with us that what they said, I agree that we can't trust the government. I also agree that his arguments I also disagree that his arguments were good. He was all over the place. Just because we say his arguments were good doesn't mean he was right necessarily, right? I think that
he believes in it, I think.
Yeah, and I think that he's made the best arguments that I've seen, without just calling someone a communist or a Democrat or a liberal. He kind of started throwing it in there, but I pushed back a little bit on it.
Czar says they trust him less. He called you Isaac, by the way. I'm going to call you Isaac from now on. There it is, July 16th. Yes. If you want to ask questions there, that is. I got to get some advertising in here, Isaiah. We're running late in the game. I got a couple other things I think are very interesting that I want to get through. So let me knock some advertising out. We'll run through that, and then we'll move on. So ECS Roofing, let's start there. The reason we're able to put on the show is because of advertisers. Again, the complaints I get sometimes from people that just don't like what I have to say is they put motives in me, and they're like, oh, you're just doing this for clicks. You're talking about Candace Owens because you're going to get clicks. We don't get on clicks. Sometimes I got to say it. I run this just like the radio station did. I work through advertisers, and the advertisers, again, don't agree with everything that I say. They don't agree with everything Isaiah says. I have to give the disclaimer. They just agree that I have the right to say it, because we're going to question everything all the time until we get answers that make sense to us. And if we don't, we'll keep asking the questions, but we're going to draw people out into the light and answer questions. Isaiah, that's all we're asking. ECS Roofing and Exteriors. This is our good friend Larry Evans. If you have a new, if you need a new roof, you have roofing issues, siding, decks, gutters, garage doors, custom exterior metal, anything you got going on, ECS Roofing and Exteriors is our general contractor. So if you have issues that you need resolved, this guy's been in business for 30 years. He's a licensed independent insurance adjuster. Therefore, when he tells you the insurance companies are going to work with you, they will. They're conscientious. They'll give you a great price. They'll do a great job for you, or they wouldn't be aligned with us. ECS Roofing and Exteriors. As I said, 30 years in business. You can reach them at 314-486-3567, 314-486-3567, or you can check them out on Facebook at ECS Roofing and Exteriors. And then we got to get Jones Water. Everett sent me something today. He's going to give people a discount on some things here. Let me find what Everett sent to me today.
Nice. He sent me a great video the other day. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before, but he always sent me some really good. He doesn't send me a lot of videos, but whenever he sends me a video on Facebook, it's always really good.
Everett is that family is so fantastic. They're just terrific. So Jones Water, Jones Air and Water, joneswater.com. He sends me this today. He said, Rob, let's promote our 250th year of freedom, right? Country's 250 years old. He said, hey, let's promote our 250 years with a $250 discount off a whole home Hydrotech HTO water treatment system or a whole home April Air dehumidifier for the month of July.
Wow.
So I got to get him to give me like some kind of something that we can put up on the screen so people can see it.
Yeah.
Joneswater.com. They're going to give you 200.
I'm sure if you just tell him you heard it from the Rob Carter show.
Heard it through the grapevine.
I know that one.
Not much longer would you be mine. Who sings it?
No idea. Yeah, I couldn't. I know the song.
Marvin Gaye. I'll do all the songs for you. All right, $250 off a whole home Hydrotech HTO water treatment system or a whole home April Air dehumidifier. Joneswater.com. This is our guy. Again, if you're drinking tap water in the year 2026, I might not be able to do anything for you. I'm going to assume that you've been vaccinated several times and you just don't care what happens to your body. Therefore, therefore, you're going to wear the double mask, you're going to get the vaccinations, and you're going to drink water with tons of fluoride in it and chemicals that make you sick all the time and mess up your skin. Do what you do. But if you're somebody who doesn't like that idea, I say go to joneswater.com, joneswater.com, 636-899-1040, 636-899-1040. You'll be the filter, or you'll buy the filter, joneswater.com. If you want to do business with Everett on the Missouri side, St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson. If you go to the east side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. Joneswater.com, joneswater.com, 636-899-1040. And then our doctor. We got to get to our doctor. We need a dentist. If anybody knows a holistic dentist, I used to ask this on the air all the time, and I never got around to it, but I need a holistic dentist. A good holistic dentist in the state of Missouri, St. Charles, St. Louis County, preferable Franklin County, something of this nature. Please, please, please. I need a holistic dentist that you love. Reach out to us. We want to do some advertising with a really good dentist because I think the dental industry is an absolute mess. I can't stand the dental. Isaiah, I go to get my teeth cleaned. They wouldn't clean my teeth in the state of Florida. They would not give me a teeth cleaning, which is all that I wanted. Now I got to gargle hydrogen peroxide all day long. They wouldn't give me a teeth cleaning because I had to get something done with my gums, which they've been telling me for 10 years I need to do, which my gums are absolutely fine. I got the greatest gums, as Donald Trump said, the greatest gums of all time. Nobody's gums are better than mine. I've got the best gums. Nobody has better gums than me. So I need a dentist. But our doctor is Dr. Helen Gelhart for multiple different reasons. Number one, she's very bright. Number two, she's a spiritual woman. And number three, she got out of the hospital administrations because she thinks she gives better care and can give better care doing this solo on her own. And I watched her business. I went in and watched how people responded to her. You can tell that they were in a really nice office. The people are friendly, great environment. AdvancedWellnessMed.com. Feel, think, look better, live longer. She has the earliest cancer detection test available, and she specializes in Alzheimer's and dementia. Symptom reversal. Think how important this is if you know somebody who is suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's, to go to somebody who can reverse the symptoms, works independently, and actually cares about the person that is in front of them. That is Dr. Helen Gelhart, AdvancedWellnessMed.com, 314-576-0094. She also has pre-screening for strokes, heart attacks, you name it, anything that kills you, she specializes in. You got to get a hold of Dr. Helen Gelhart and do it today. Do it now. Don't wait. 314-576-0094, 314-576-0094, or always remember AdvancedWellnessMed.com. And then we have Grace Halling, GraceHalling.com. The reason you see all of those dumpsters all over St. Charles County is because people love doing business with Gary and Karen Schneider. GraceHalling.com, been around since 1998. And by the way, I got to remember, JonesWater.com, been around since 1995. So we're talking about reputable people. GraceHalling.com, established in 1998, 2, 4, 6, and 8-yard dumpsters. If you are a commercial business, in that area and you're not doing business with Grace Halling, come on, give me a break. Outstanding customer service, competitive pricing. If you are a residential customer, trash, recyclables, yard waste, bulk pickups, doesn't matter. It is always GraceHalling.com, GraceHalling.com, GraceHalling.com. Let's do Rack Custom Coatings, and then we'll save the last two for the end of the show. RackCustomCoatings.com. Again, I wonder how big this business is. I assume he's got a really thriving business. He's been around since 2001. This is our friend Rich McQuay, locally owned and operated business since 2001. RackCustomCoatings.com. As he likes to say, we install industrial strength, long-lasting coatings built to handle anything your home or business can throw at them. And from garages to commercial spaces, Rack Custom Coatings delivers tough, beautiful finishes that last. You can reach them at 636-398-5040. I'm going to give my plug. We had this done for our garage. It looks absolutely fantastic. If you're trying to improve the look of your home, I just tell you, finish your garage flooring. This is another thing. Think of how many people use their garages for their man caves in the summertime, or have football parties in the wintertime, and you got that funky floor with the grease stains, the cobwebs in the corner. Get your flooring redone. It's not very expensive. It'll make your home look better. It'll be much more enjoyable in your garage. And when you open up those doors and people see that garage flooring, they go, damn, that looks good. And it's not very expensive. RackCustomCoatings.com, 636-398-5040, RAK CustomCoatings.com, 636-398-5040. All right.
Hey, maybe you're a big baller. You got an airplane hangar you need to get redone too.
Hangars, schools, any industrial.
You also need to be donating. If you're a big baller like that, you also need to be donating to People's Lobby.
Of course, absolutely. We will get things done. We'll get things done. Oh, yeah. That's the one thing, is we promise to get things done. We're not looking to collect money just to go along to get along. We're actually going to get things done, but we're not going to do it by jamming our finger in everybody's eye. We will if we need to. I mean, we'll get as like I said, I like being confrontational. It's part of my nature. I've got to pray. Not
seem like we need to be, though.
I have to pray on it.
Yeah, it seems like these people are willing to talk and have conversations and be challenged. Some people not, right? I agree. Some people not so much, but
right.
I mean, we saw Rick Bratton, had conversation with him. Great conversations here with Ben Keithley. So if they're willing to talk, we're willing to. That's all we can do. That's all we can do and ask.
All we can do. We got to get some things done, though. We got to get the elections cleaned up. And again, I'll say about the elections, because how I get every time with the elections. It doesn't matter whether the elections are running smoothly or not. They're not, but let's say that they are. There's no confidence in the elections with big portions of the American electorate, and that has to change. And it's a simple fix, in my opinion. That's what I was going to say to Michael Burton yesterday. It's not whether they're being run clean or not, or whether there was any evidence. That's irrelevant to the story. The cat's out of the bag in the minds of many voters. And if the cat's out of the bag in minds of many voters, then they want to fix the problem. Even if it's not there, they want to fix the problem. And it's an easy fix.
Yep.
You can't tell the American people that they cannot count votes by hands because it just seems so ridiculous that nobody would buy into it. We can count them by hands. Shake your head with me. Yes, we can count them by hand. We will have to count them by hand because the technology that runs the software and the systems that count our votes right now, we don't trust. We don't trust it, and we don't trust the future. We want to go back to an archaic way of counting votes by hand on election day with a holiday under video surveillance. That way we can ensure the elections are run properly. We don't have to guess or wonder anymore. And all of a sudden, you're going to have a lot more people participating in the American system. Can I get an amen, Isaiah?
Amen. I mean, I don't know. I just find it so funny that they think that the machines are so clean and that nothing could ever touch these machines. It's like, okay, it can touch any other part of technology that exists in the world, but not the machines, right?
Yeah. Look at my guy, Bill.
I know. I was going to put this up here too.
Yeah. I've asked my dentist about fluoride removal. He said the effects will be seen in coming generations.
Yep.
Right. Fluoride. And can you just think about it? If you know this, Isaiah, this is the thing because I was a salesperson, right? So the best salespeople are always people that sell something they believe in. That's why I told you when we were working together at the very beginning, I said, listen, I'm not going to just sell schlock. I said, I can't. I'm not good at it. I'll be terrible at it. I have to believe in what I'm doing. The reason we work so hard for joneswater.com and the reason I think I'm almost like an executive for joneswater.com, I tell everybody, the water's not clean like you think it is. It's not. If you put your tap water against filtrated water and you sit them next to, you're going to see it. You can see it. You can't drink that water. That water is not healthy for you. You got to stop drinking that water and you got to stop cooking with that water. You got to stop cleaning with that water. Get that water out of your mind and purify your water and you'll have a lot healthier way of life, Isaiah. Same with the air. If your lungs, if you got asthma or allergies or anything, you're breathing in that funky air all day in your home or business, just odds are you're going to have some ailments. Why not? Clean it up. It's not very expensive.
Yep. No worries. No worries. Forgiven. My son's name is Isaac, so we confuse people all the time because of that.
Let's see what Star says. I apologize, Isaiah. I've been calling you Isaac. This is one of the first times I've watched your show, and thank you for pointing out that he was all over the place. But the point that this is the best we've got is horrible. But I do appreciate you guys pointing it out. So thank you. Okay, fair enough. I think that's a no on A5.
I know that's the truth though. That the best this is the best we got is horrible. I agree.
Yeah. Well, that was my argument about.
We're on the same page there.
We're not saying that we don't get rid of income taxes. The biggest pushback that Ben and people that are supporting A5 are going to get is they don't understand how it's going to work, and they don't necessarily want to give that kind of trust to a government that the trust has been broken with a lot of grassroots and
and that's what people were commenting. And I didn't want to put the comments up because they were a little nasty talking about Ben talking out of both sides of his mouth, but it kind of is, right? Is to say, I want to cut the government and I want less government, but trust us too. Right. Yeah. And so that's the hard argument.
I don't think Ben would push back against that at all. I think Ben said you shouldn't trust government. That's what he said.
I think he accepted that too. He said, hey, I can agree with that. Right.
Yes.
It's true.
Almost have to do a bill reading on that at some point. Okay, what else did I want to get to today? We clarified the religious question early on. I just want people to recognize this, though. You recognize it with my show and the people that are fighting me on my show. Ooh, I'm just going to say this. I think the Judeo-Christian ideology, whatever that is, right? Those people are much more aggressive towards me and more skeptical. There's that guy, Jason Sears, that owns some kind of paper out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this guy was writing emails to the people at Real Talk Radio trying to get me fired and agrees with me on almost everything, but started calling me an anti-Semitic and this and that. And the other. I said, hey, look, dummy, pay attention. All right. We married into a Jewish family. My father went to U City High School in the 1960s. Some of the most important people in my life are Jewish. I'm not anti-Semitic at all. And go F yourself for even muttering the words, because that aggravates me to no end. It's like calling somebody stupid. All right.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It's called a ad hominem argument. That's
just it's a nonsensical argument, and I can't believe that intelligent people would make it. But nonetheless, I'm not anti-Semitic. I disagree with what Israel is doing, and I don't want to be any part of it.
It's like when the Ayatollah says death to America, not the citizens. You saying you disagree with Israel is not saying that you hate the Jewish people, right?
Exactly. When we were giving transgender surgery to 10-year-olds in America, I'm not down with it. Right? I'm not down with it. Doesn't mean I hate America and hate all Americans. It just means I don't agree with their policy and I think it's repulsive and I don't want to give my money to it. Fair enough?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Some way in there.
Now we're going to give money that we don't even know we're giving to them because they're trying to put it into the National Defense Authorization Act. And so now that we know that now that people are aware of the money, let's cut the aid and hide the money now, right?
Yes. This is one of my favorite clips because the reason I bring this all up is Doug Billings. And I like Doug. I don't know if Doug likes me or not. A little patronizing to me every now and again, which it kind of rubs me a little bit wrong. But I like him. I think he's very talented.
That's the MAGA crew.
Yeah, they believe they're, people that are on that side of the fence. And if you don't know who Doug Billings is, if you're listening in from around the country, Doug Billings does a radio show on the same station I used to do a radio show on. He's very pro-Republican Party. He's very pro-Donald Trump. And we were going back and forth about Mitch McConnell. And he said, Rob, you're not going to gain any credibility or something of this nature. I'm paraphrasing by coming up with these, in short, cockamamie conspiracy theories about Mitch McConnell. I said, well, I see it different, Doug. I said, I see Mitch McConnell as a guy with almost zero talent. That's number one. He has no talent. He's got no look. He's got no gift of communication. He's got nothing that would make him the leader of the Senate leadership. Nothing. Zero. Okay. He's not a brilliant person. All you got to do is talk to him or listen to him. He's not a brilliant person. He's not. He gains no trust from anybody that he's ever spoken to, but he worked his way up into a position of power in the Republican Party, which I think all agree, outside of Doug Billings, is corrupt in Washington, D.C. How did the guy that worked himself in, who's not a very attractive man, can we get a picture of Mitch McConnell? Let's see if he's.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Elaine Chao, who's a very attractive, it certainly was when she was young, attractive Chinese woman, right, or Taiwanese or whatever. I think she's Chinese. I don't think she looked at Mitch McConnell and went, "Mm-hmm. I'll have him. He's smoking hot. I got to get me some Mitch McConnell." And he's a great conversationalist, right?
Come on, Rob. You don't like this?
I mean, come on. Right? That's Mitch McConnell, right? He's not a looker, if you
not
will.
Not
a looker, right? So when Elaine Chao marries him, Elaine Chao's father went to school in China. She went to Harvard, right? If you just tie all the club stuff together that we talk about on the show all the time, why is it a leap to think that Elaine Chao might be working for factions within China? Everybody kind of knows the game going on, and then they promote the turtle, Mitch McConnell, into Senate leadership, and then she gets jobs in every Republican administration, and then her father, who I think is aligned with China, is now doing business with China out of America. Why is it hard to think that person might be a spy? Isaiah, do you understand it?
Oh yeah, I don't think that's hard to.
I mean, look
it's not like you're saying she is, right?
Mitch McConnell had a great personality or something, if he was really funny. Mitch is that guy, Mitch, man. Anytime we're having a party, make sure Mitch comes over. That would be a different story. But I don't think Mitch is that kind of guy. I've been watching him for quite some time. I don't think Mitch has the great personality. I don't think he's got the great look. I don't think he has the great intellect. I don't think he has anything that anybody would want, but yet he makes himself the Senate majority leader in this government in DC, which you can determine whether you think they're on the up and up or not. Candace Owens, and then I'll get to Mitch. The reason I'm talking about this is because of the conversation I had with Doug Billings that we'll get to in a minute, but I want to start here. Clip number 9 is Candace Owens. Now, I said something nice about Candace Owens, which makes everybody crazy. This is the brainwashing we're talking about. I'm not endorsing Candace Owens. I'm saying I agree with her when she says things I agree with. We talk about this pretty much every day. Do we not, Isaiah?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I agree with something somebody says does not mean I'm endorsing them with everything that they say or everything that they do. That's it. What she says here is exactly what I say all the time. This is a back and forth with Piers Morgan, who is a government shill. Piers Morgan is he was on CNN, for God's sakes. Piers Morgan.
I just wonder who watches Piers Morgan, like who's going there and saying, I want to watch Piers Morgan every day to make sure I get all of my information. I don't know it. I don't know. I go there when I want to see someone destroy Pierce in a conversation.
Me too. That's why I like this one. All right, that's funny you say that because that's exactly how I look at it. So here's Candace Owens on Piers Morgan, and what she is describing is what I believe is the way of the future. I believe the future, if it works out to the benefit of the American citizen, freedom, liberty, and the Constitution, American citizens will begin to understand that they're being misled by what they consider to be news at every level, all of it. Okay. They will begin to recognize that the media that they take in is no different than Pravda. It's pure propaganda. They passed, can we clip this one, Isaiah? We passed laws in this country promoted by Barack Obama and endorsed by the Republican Party that overturned the Smith-Mundt Act, replaced it in an NDAA called the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. Damn it. Don't clip that part. Modernization Act, which allowed for domestic propaganda. 13 years later, despite everybody knowing that we have domestic propaganda in this country, we still have American citizens who believe in Fox News and believe in CNN and believe in ABC and believe in all this stuff when they pass laws that allowed them to propagandize you. Where's my ABC? Let me find it. Here it is, right here, Isaiah. Again. But people don't see it, and that's because the brainwashing is so spectacular. Here is what I believe is the future of journalism. It will be you and I discussing things together, not worried about court decisions, not worried about what Fox News or the Republican or Democrat Party has to tell us. We're not going to pay attention to any of that. We're going to figure it out ourselves, and we're going to laugh at ourselves forever watching Fox News, CNN, ABC, or any of them. We're going to laugh at our future generations will laugh at us for thinking that they are getting news from the corporations that are clearly in bed with the big corporations, the big news organizations, and both political parties. Here is Candace Owens giving it to Piers Morgan. I love this. Check it out.
What is your theory?
I don't know. I don't know.
But what's your theory then? You must have an idea.
My theory is that we should investigate everything strange that happened on that day so we can figure out what happened.
But are you suggesting that?
Are
you suggesting
why is everybody
Egypt?
why are we pretending that we don't know why we ask questions? Like why? Like you're a journalist.
But you
know
have a theory.
What this is. You're like, what's going on? What's going
your
on?
Theory?
Why do you want to know why these planes were tracking Charlie? Well, my theory is that we are being sold absolute Fed slop. The media is doing their Operation Mockingbird Part 2 scenario by telling us, well, unless you absolutely have a conclusion, you can't even ask the question. Yes, we very well can keep asking consistent questions until we get a clarified explanation for what happened on that day. And right now, we have nothing, okay? And that is the reason why people are watching my show, because I'm the only one not treating them like they're absolute idiots who don't have two eyes and who believe in magic bully theory and who understand that Egyptian planes should not have been tracking Charlie even 3 times this year would be an anomaly, okay? They've been tracking him. We don't know where it's going to end, but we are going to keep asking questions until we get clear answers.
Candace, it may be that the person in the media spewing bullshit to the public is you.
No, nice try. It's not. It's you by saying, why are you asking questions? Don't you worry about Mikey's feelings? Everyone knows what this is. And like I said, because we have the example, the concrete example of after JFK's assassination, the media members quite literally being put on the payroll of the CIA, we have a historical example that we can look at and go, we're not doing that again. Doesn't matter how many times you keep telling the public that I'm spewing bullshit. It is only because there has not been anything that has come out of this investigation that makes any sense that the public is not listening to. I am sorry to say this, Piers, people like you. And what I love about you and I sitting down is that this exact same time last year, you were doing the same weird questioning and making all these things when I said that they were committing a Holocaust against the Gazans, and then you changed your mind.
Actually,
Piers,
this time,
I'll see you next year when you change your mind again, and we have more information about what happened, and you realize that the difference between me and you is that I have the courage to take the risks and ask the questions first, okay, before it's popular. You wait until it becomes popular, and then you change your mind.
Boom, boom, boom. See? Oh, starting to fall in line with Candace Owens' way of thinking again, because that seems real to me. I don't know what it is, but it seems real to me. Listen, Dr. Shiva explained it very well on our show. The propagandists tell you the truth when it's too late. The journalists, the people that are curious when things don't make sense, they go, wait, hang on. What about this? I was right about COVID from day one. Day one. I think any accolades for it, Isaiah. Although I think I saved a lot of lives. I saved a lot of lives. I mean that sincerely. I'm pat myself.
You should have got a medal of commendation, not Fauci.
I should have got a medal of commendation. Exactly. I saved a lot of lives by telling people don't go get those stupid vaccines. They're ridiculous. You don't even know what's in them. There's no insert, and the people that are selling them to you are charlatans. I mean, for the love of God, don't stick that needle in your arm. Now all the information is out there. Now, just because everybody that actually cares can look around society and go, wait a minute, this really didn't do much good for us. It's crazy. And I'll again remind everybody, if you're listening in for the first time, I have asthma and allergies. I never even recognized that COVID was real. I traveled this entire country from coast to coast, went to China, went everywhere. I never had any problem whatsoever. And I'm still here. And not only that, I didn't kill my dad, right? I didn't kill anybody in my family. Nobody died because I didn't get vaccinated. I didn't wear a mask at all. Okay. And I survived. Everybody in my family survived. So what should that tell you about the media that told you if you didn't wear your mask, not only over your mouth, but over your nose, and if you didn't wear it when you went to see grandma, you didn't wear it here, or you didn't wear it there, you were a murderer? What does that say for those people? Can't I just, as a citizen of this country, relate to you that these people are frauds, that they are con artists, that they don't care about you at all? And once you come to that understanding, that's why I was bringing up Doug Billings. Doug Billings and people that think like Doug Billings think that we have a system to protect. I say we have a system that was left unprotected, and now it's not a constitutional framework anymore at all. As Ron Paul said, I guess he thinks Ron Paul's crazy too. I would assume he thinks Ron Paul's crazy, and he thinks George Bush is a genius, if you can imagine, right? So I think the system is the problem. You think the system works. You think that you're going to go get justice. Give Doug, I love Doug Billings. I mean this sincerely. I just disagree with him. Doug, you should call up Jeffrey Winehouse and remind him how just Missouri is. Okay. Maybe you can call up all of my friends that died because they got needles stuck in their arm by mandate by this government. Tell them how just society is. Okay. Just let the courts do it. I mean, why would Candace Owens be having an open conversation about a story that doesn't make any sense about somebody that she considered a friend? I mean, good Lord, what kind of monster are you? It's because she doesn't trust what's going on. Nor do I, nor does Isaiah, nor does this audience, nor does half of the American people, Doug. They don't trust the system. They don't believe in it. They don't believe the stories. They would ask you, why did they pass the Smith Modernization Act? Why did they pass it?
Yeah. Why do you need to pass something like that? Well, is everyone familiar with a company called Voice for America? I think it's Voice of America. Sorry. Yeah. Voice of America. Yeah. You heard of Tucker Carlson, his father in the CIA.
Tricky Dick Carlson. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
that's what he started.
This is what started the conversation with me, Isaiah. And then I don't want to spend, we could spend as much time as you want.
I know we could talk about this forever.
Well, I just think this is a fascinating topic. These are things that are interesting to me. Yeah. And I got to do that every now and again. If it's just, sometimes it's a show for Rob. It's just Rob show, right?
It is the Rob Carter show.
Thank you very much. All right. MTG on clip number 6. This was the argument that I had with Doug on, not an argument, but just a back and forth. And he's, he makes the commentary,
right? That's what we say.
Well, I'm going to lose credibility and this and that and the other. I got that from a couple of friends as well. And I said, well, what did I say about this whole Candace Owens thing that got your panties in a wad? And nobody can even tell me. They make up things that I said that I never said. You're the co-host of the show and the producer. Have I ever made any commentary about Tyler Robinson that you're aware of? All I said was the story doesn't make any sense, and I don't trust the security system that he had in place. Whoever was supposed to be running security for Charlie Kirk should be in prison.
No, we're not out here. We're not out here talking about the Rode microphone and how it exploded. No. We're not talking about that stuff. That's not what we're talking about, right?
No.
That's we haven't even addressed that. You know what I mean? And so we're trying to stay factual based, and
we're trying to ask questions, just like you said.
Right,
when things don't make sense, you continue to ask questions until it makes sense. And if you can never get the answers to your question, if it doesn't make sense, then you're being conned.
Yeah,
that's all. This is really
that's why I think it's great to have folks like Ben Keithley and others to come on and we just ask questions, and that's his answer. That doesn't mean we think that it's a good answer, or that we even agree with his answer, right? But you can at least it's bringing it to light. That's a great way to say it, right? It brings it to light and helps people see it.
I played a baseball against a Keeney. I wonder if Chuck is related to him. If you're one of the parents of one of the kids I used to coach against, I'd be curious if I think he spelled his name that way as well. But he makes a good point. Chuck Keeney, one of our listeners, puts out on the screen: the system protects the government, the corporations, and the banks, not the citizens. Wait a minute, let me find it. That is a fact.
That's the fact, Jack! That's a fact, Jack!
And that's demonstrable. You don't have to guess. You can just see it. You can see it. All the people that sold you the remdesivir and all that, it was a toxic agent. It didn't have any benefit to you whatsoever. It's like, here, drink this poison. It'll be good for you. And you go, I'm going to die. Well, that was the COVID. Sorry about that. It was the COVID. The medicine just didn't work for you. It was the COVID. It was the AZT. It wasn't AIDS. It wasn't HIV. It was the AZT. It was the AZT that was killing people. Same guy, Dr. Darth Fauci, that sold you AZT, also sold you remdesivir and genetic therapies that he told you were vaccines. That's just, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Anyway, Mitch McConnell, this is MTG on the streets of New York, and she's asked about Mitch McConnell. Somebody says he's dead. Did he die today? I mean, I want to be very...
I don't know. I haven't looked it up. Last I heard, he was in the hospital.
I wish for nobody to die. I hear that he's doing well. Then I hear he's dying. I don't know what's going on with Mitch McConnell. All I know that is Mitch McConnell is not somebody I would trust to serve your best interest. That's all I'll say about Mitchell McConnell. But I also think that his wife is more than likely associated with the Chinese Communist Party. And apparently, Marjorie Taylor Greene agrees with me. Clip number 6.
Get your thoughts on the Mitch McConnell situation. He's been hospitalized for weeks. Other than that, we don't really know what's going on. What do you think about it?
I think it's extremely serious, and I'd like to say shame on the Republican Party for just basically staying silent while such a powerful Republican senator is basically laying in a hospital like a vegetable. And his wife flew to China and met with the vice president of China just days after he basically died, and they brought him back with CPR and took him to the hospital. But you know what? It doesn't surprise me from the establishment, because this is what they support. They support people holding on to power until they're practically dead or do die in office. And this is why the state of our country is so pathetic.
So do you want Republican senators and leadership to be speaking out against this? Like, what do you want from them exactly if they don't know what's going on with him?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell had a stroke on television, I think it was last year. And that was the earliest signs. But none of these elected officials, Republican, Democrats, congressmen, senators, should ever stay in office until they're ailing in health. Joe Biden is another one. He was the president while he had dementia and was clearly failing on the world stage. But no, shame on every single person in Washington, D.C. that doesn't call this out and demand that Mitch McConnell's family step up and announce his resignation and take care of their family member. Because there needs to be a new election held in Kentucky where they can have a functioning person serve as a senator. And then also, you know, I want to call this out. This really irritates me. The Republican Party is all campaigning against communism right now. What about Elaine Chao? Elaine Chao flew to China and met with the vice president just a few days after Mitch McConnell practically died and went to the hospital. So when are we going to call out a possible communist Chinese spy right there?
You're calling his wife a possible Chinese spy?
Yes, 100%. What woman leaves her husband's side while he is dead or dying in the hospital, flies to China and meets with the vice president? Answer me that.
I wanted to get back to one of the things that you previously mentioned about the potential open Senate seat if he were to pass away or resign. I mean, what do you make of that? Who do you think might run for that? How do you think that's just all going to shake out if it does become available?
I have no idea who would run for it, but I'd love to see Thomas Massie run, because that man, they ran an Israeli operation on him with 3 billionaire Israeli donors, and they totally stole that seat from Kentucky. And you know what they did that was really disgusting? They broke the law and actually created a fake AI campaign ad showing him supposedly in some sex trio with AOC and Ilhan Omar. And that was wrong. And, you know, they broke the law, and that's how they treat him. But I think Thomas Massie would make a great senator, and anybody that rejects AIPAC money.
I know you're pretty close with Massie. I mean, has he said anything about potentially running for the seat?
No, we were talking about fishing the other day and talking about the beach. I haven't asked him about the Senate seat.
All right, I don't believe that.
Right?
That very last part I don't get, but there she is. She says that she believes Elaine Chao is probably a Chinese spy. I've made that commentary. I actually did a whole podcast on it once before, Isaiah. So I've looked into it. It makes no sense to me. Her father was Taiwanese born. She went to school at Harvard, right? She cuddles up to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell starts dating Elaine Chao and then works his way through the Republican Party all the way up to the top of the Republican Party. And again, I just ask, does anybody look at Mitch McConnell and go, electric? That guy is electric. I can see the talent. It's just dripping out of Mitch McConnell. No, you don't see that at all. what you see is a person that was propped up into a position of power because he's married to Elaine Chao, and Elaine Chao is tight with people that are tight with the Chinese Communist Party, and that's called globalism 101. That's just how this world is working. It's you don't have to like it. I mean, I just don't know how you can miss it. All right, let me give a couple.
How is China the enemy when we allow them to ship things into our country? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, not only they're the enemy,
and they're students.
Well, they're the enemy. Here, this is Donald Trump, right? The China virus. So they're the enemy. We bring in 600,000 students. The leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, is married to a woman who's doing business at a very high level with the Chinese. And when he gets sick, she goes to meet with the vice president of China, right? These are our enemies, Isaiah. And then you got Dr. Darth Fauci, who's funding gain-of-function research, according to our own government, in Wuhan, China. And Donald Trump puts him out in front of everybody and he gives him a medal of commendation as he's walking out the door. And everybody goes, "What's for dinner? What's for dinner, guys?" Nothing to see here. It's not globalism. It's not
pizza, right? Yeah.
It's a constitutional republic if you can keep it. Okay. One more time. We need a like. What was it? Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Oh, look at you.
Like, share. I told you. Once you chastised me, that he made me feel bad. I was huddled in the corner for a little bit trying to get my emotions back together. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Like, share, comment, subscribe. If you don't do it, Isaiah blames me for it. And I'm like, Isaiah, I'm doing the best I can here with what I got. I'm going to tell you, right? Like,
they are doing it. They're doing a good job of it too.
You are. We appreciate it very much. And let me get 2 more advertisements out, and then I got just a couple more, Isaiah. I promise I'll be quick. All right. I promise I'll be quick. Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. Rocket, baby, ROCKIT careers.com. 636-778-2419. Again, this is a nationwide business. Anywhere in the country, you can do business with rocketcareers.com. Mitch has been a friend of mine since we were 15, 16 years old. He's a great guy. If you're going to have what I would call a headhunter or job placement service, you're not going to find people that care about you any more than rocketcareers.com. If you want to do business with family, do it with rocketcareers.com. This is for all the small to medium-sized businesses out there, and you've got a human resources department that doesn't get the job done, or you can't afford a human resources department, you look to rocketcareers.com. They'll put the right candidates before you. They vet them. They put them before you. You'll improve your business because you'll have better people working for you. And again, if you're out of work, if you hate your job, if you just can't take it any longer, if you can't do it, if you're thinking, man, I have to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I don't know if I can do this job another day. I just can't take it anymore. Call rocketcareers.com at 636-778-2419, and they will help you launch a new career. Rocketcareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com. One more time with the number, 636-778-2419. As I like to say, it is those calls where you just kind of hesitate a minute, Isaiah. Sometimes you just got to knock it out. You just got to make the call. Once you make the call and life begins to change for you, you're going to go, Rob is the one that told me to call Mitch. I did hate my job. I did want to do something else. Mitch helped me find a new career for myself. He got me all prepared, got me into his network, and all of a sudden, Mitch and Brian got me working for a company that I love, and my entire life has changed. I don't get any credit for it. It's like COVID.
Yeah.
I don't need it. You don't have to thank me. I'm just saying, if you want to change your life by changing your career, it is Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. And then when it's lunchtime, it's always, except for Monday, when it's lunchtime, it's always Moe's Pizza out in Washington, Missouri at the corner of Grand and 5th Street. As he likes to say, God owns the place. He just works there. Great family environment, a landmark in Washington, Missouri. If you have any kind of gathering going on, doesn't matter what the gathering is, whether it be Bible studies, political meetings, birthday parties, anniversaries, it doesn't matter. If you have a gathering going on and you're in the area, you got to get out and check out Moe's Pizza. Great people, great environment, great organization, and great food. Great pizza and salad bar, and boy, does that sound good. I'm going for pizza today. I don't care. I got to have it. I'm fat, and I still want it. Pizza and salad, and the breadsticks you tell me are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
They have the delicious chicken wings and great sandwiches, and the ice cream is to die for. They got the little ice cream as you're walking out. Kind of an old school type operation. Moe's Pizza, a landmark in Washington, Missouri. When it is lunchtime, get there. All right.
There's an event happening at Moe's on tomorrow night. Senator Ben Brown and Representative Bishop Davidson will be there with Scott Fawn talking about Amendment 5 and taking questions. Americans for Prosperity is putting on the event. So
really?
Yep. So at Moe's.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See what they got to say. We talked about, Oh, I wanted to get Ben Shapiro in there. Just a clip because I was going to play it when I was talking about Candace Owens. Listen to how Ben Shapiro talks about Candace Owens now, right? Do you like Candace Owens? Isaiah, do you have any
I don't dislike her.
That's kind of why
I don't dislike her. It's not like I'm like,
I don't
oh,
follow
I love
her.
her.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't follow her, or I don't know what to think of her, to be honest with you. But I got to say that what she's been talking about lately, I'm in alignment with. But Ben Shapiro, I'm not a fan of Ben Shapiro. Now you got to remember, and this is for people that have been listening for a long time. I used to rip on Ben Shapiro 5 years ago, so this is not new to me. I never liked Ben Shapiro. I couldn't stand the voice. Once I realized that he was trying to sell people on taking the vaccinations, I went, what in the world is this guy doing? He was out there every day. Vaccination. My wife is a doctor, and you got to go get your vaccinations. You know why? And it was funny. Somebody did a side-by-side where they show Louis Farrakhan, the Muslim, saying, don't take those vaccines, don't take those vaccines. And then Ben Shapiro saying, take those vaccines, take those vaccines. You got the Muslim that everybody hates, the Million Man March guy, right? Louis Farrakhan, and he's saying, don't trust this government to stick a needle in your arm. Are you kidding me? And he was out there giving speeches saying, don't take these vaccinations. But the good guy, the conservative, Ben Shapiro's out there saying, get those needles stuck in your arm. It's going to be fantastic. What could possibly go wrong? Ben Shapiro, one of the smartest people the world has ever known. Haven't you seen me in these college campuses? I'm a brilliant man. I'm Ben Shapiro, for God's sakes. If I tell you to take the vaccines, go get the vaccines. And people did go out and take vaccines because Ben Shapiro told them to go get their vaccines. And again, you shouldn't listen to Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro is an absolute propagandist who cares more about Israel than you, America, or anything else. And that is a fact, Jack.
That's the fact, Jack. That's the fact, Jack.
Here is Ben Shapiro talking about Candace Owens. Clip number 15, Isaiah. Thank you very much.
So it's retarded. Okay, this is retarded. And you're retarded if you believe it. In reality, the school was organizing a memorial to Kirk in the courtyard. Nobody's trying to hide that that's where Charlie was killed. And the school has invested in replacing the grass where Charlie was speaking with new pavers. But the pattern of pavers match standard hardscape and drainage designs. There is zero evidence of anything structurally anomalous. But again, the facts don't matter. This is the whole thing. The facts don't matter. I can spend all day doing this. The facts don't matter. They are of zero consequence to Candace or her myriad followers. Because here's the shtick, and this is always Candace's shtick, always in front. It's also happened to be Tucker's shtick and the rest of the conspiracy woke right. The goal is to create a miasma of suspicion around an event in order to undermine trust in systems and foster a belief that the conspiratorial leader is the only one who's telling you the truth. That's the entire game. It's the game over and over and over. So in this particular case, the goal is to create a bunch of smoke and nonsense, a bunch of distraction around Charlie's murder and around Erica. Because again, the idea here is to try to show that Erica is a joke or nefarious or an assassin and turn Charlie's assassination into, again, a call for conspiratorial thinking that implicates everything from our allies to the federal government, everything from close friends of Charlie's to his widow. I don't think Candace is stupid. I think Candace has a unique capacity to convince herself that anything she is saying at the time is a thing she believes. That is, in fact, a unique capacity. It makes her fantastic on camera. It also means that she's a sociopath. But do I think that Candace Owens, deep down in her rational brain, whatever is left of it,
look at this guy,
believes that Erica is complicit in Charlie's murder? I don't. I think that she does this because she is a sadist and she enjoys watching Erica and TPUSA and everyone else sane try to fend off her insane accusations day after day. I think she enjoys watching episodes like this one and thinking, hey, look, Shapiro's spending all day on me and spending all day fending off these insane accusations. And again, on a broader societal level, the goal is to essentially destroy anyone who stands in the way of Candace Owens's aspiration.
This is fodder for idiots.
I guess, I mean, he said retard. I guess he's anti-retardation, I guess, you know? They say we're anti-Semitic, so I just had to come up with something, you know?
I don't know what I think of Candace Owens, but I do know what I think of Ben Shapiro. All right, and then we got to get to the flock cameras very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
All right, flock cameras all over the news. Who told you first? Let's go through the things that we've talked about in advance, all right? We talked about elections from the very get-go. We talked about the corporate interest in the media from the get-go. People are starting to recognize that. We talked about COVID. We talked about masks. We talked about lockdowns, right? Then we told you about AI data centers. What is the benefit to the American citizen? We got to establish that first. If you're going to have trillions of dollars of infrastructure put forth, we should understand what's going on there. And now we're talking about flock cameras, and we say that flock cameras are unconstitutional. We say that war without congressional approval is unconstitutional. If you care about the Constitution, I do. Some don't. I do. Right? Here is what James Fishback, that's clip number 1. Here's what James Fishback in Florida is saying. And by the way, Byron Donalds, he's trying to backpedal against, he's saying, we got to do this. He's for AI data centers. He's for flock cameras, but he's trying to couch it now because he's getting a lot of pushback in the state of Florida. So you got James Fishback, who's running for governor, along with a guy named Paul Renner. They are absolutely against AI data centers. So for all the people that were fighting us in the state of Missouri, 2 prominent Republicans, one was the Speaker of the House in Florida, are running against AI data centers. That's what they're running. That's one of their key issues in the state of Florida, is running against AI data centers. So it's not foreign liberal lunatics that don't want the AI data centers. They want AI data centers only if there are protections and only if they understand how these things are going to work, which as of right now, nobody has a clue. Nobody has a freaking clue what's going on with these things. Add the flock cameras to the equation and you start to worry about a surveillance state. Here is James Fishback, again, running for governor in Florida, talking about flock cameras. Check this out.
Not allowed to run a mass surveillance state, whether it's run by the CIA, Peter Thiel and his butt buddies, or the flock cameras. I will ban flock cameras as Florida governor.
I meant to ask.
See what I mean by revolutionary?
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant about Ben. What I meant to ask Ben Keithley when he was on too. These are the things that make us not trust our government.
Yeah.
When I see flock cameras being put all over, right, these license readers, these license plate readers, and I see them all over the state of Missouri, I think to myself, well, who's protecting us? How can a public official, because I was watching that Jeffco Patriot Radio, if I'm just Missouri politics today, I was watching that Jeffco Patriot Radio, and it seemed like they put out a conversation being endorsed by Richard West, who was in law enforcement at one time. And he was talking about, the flock cameras are at the parks, they're here, they're there. I don't care where they're at. What's that got to do with anything? You don't have the right to do it. What part of that is hard for people to understand? You do not have the right to surveil citizens. You just don't have the right to do it. You don't get to read my license plates and share it with your buddies and determine whether I'm a criminal or not. That goes against the entire premise of the Fourth Amendment. You don't see that as a public official. You can't recognize that. That's confusing to you.
Because flock safety is not taking the responsibility. They're saying, oh, it's not the technology's fault. They're just misusing the technology.
Exactly.
So they're
you're giving power. You're taking power away from you, your right to privacy, and allowing your government to track your every movement. We don't want it. Freedom comes with a little bit of responsibility. How about that? We don't need you to wipe our butt for us.
Freedom isn't free.
We don't need your surveillance 24/7 for our own security. We don't need that. Okay. I want to make that very clear. Now let's look at Anna Kasparian. Now, Anna Kasparian is, she's on the Young Turks, and she went doing some digging. And she said, okay, let's talk about flock cameras for just a little bit. And here's what she found out. Check this out. Clip number 8. This is Anna Kasparian.
ACLU has brought forth a case against Flock and surfaced multiple issues with the technology. Per the ACLU, Flock tends to also lie to the public about what their technology is capable of doing and what type of government agencies are using their database. For instance, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Flock had told a city council that they do not create trafficking maps of cars, which was a lie. The city canceled their Flock contract after their lie was discovered. Flock also told Colorado police that the feds do not have access to their database. No feds. That was a lie. Flock has contracts with Homeland Security. Flock straight up lied to a city council in Illinois about their work alongside the ACLU, claiming that they were actually working with the ACLU on their technology. ACLU has never worked with Flock. In fact, they are challenging the company as we speak. There's more. Flock was used by Texas police to track a woman who crossed state lines after having abortion pill complications. So if you happen to live in a state that has effectively banned abortion and you've traveled outside the state in order to obtain the abortion pill, well, they're keeping track of you through Flock's technology.
Fantastic. For my safety. Thank you for
I just wish we had a government that actually
surveilling me.
We had a government that cared about the Constitution, Isaiah. I just wish they understood that the Republican Party is turning into the Democrat Party. All the things I didn't like about Democrats back in the day, the Republicans are doing the exact same thing through a different method.
Yeah.
They're going to protect you from everything that is ill by constant surveillance. And they're going to tax you as they put up surveillance systems all over the country and convince you that it's a good thing, or it's a 50-50. We're really not sure how this is going to work out. But I mean, we caught a child predator with these flock safety cameras. And again, I ask us one more time, if everybody had to wear a camera behind their head and they were watched by the government every day, all day long, knew every move that you made, every keystroke on your computer, everything that you thought about on your phone, everything that you did, wouldn't the world be safer? Yes. But would we be free? No, we wouldn't be free. The idea is that we are supposed to be free. Our government does not have the right to surveil us, because when your government has the right through legislation that usurps the Constitution to surveil you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it eliminates the idea that you can ever overthrow that government.
I remember when I was in college, almost 10 years ago, understanding the CCTV setup within the UK, how everywhere you go, there's CCTV, right? It's not flock cameras, just regular security cameras. And at that point, I thought that was crazy. You know what I mean? That was too much, because that means that everywhere you go, they're watching you.
I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Huh?
Exactly.
That's what I mean. Play that one out.
That's great production right there.
I don't think I have anything else. That's what I wanted to get through today. Today was fun for me. That's a lot of conversation that I wanted to have. I want to talk to Ben Keithley. I'd love to get people's opinions over the course of the next 24 hours as to what they think about Amendment 5. Did it change any minds? Did it make you think, well, maybe? Or did you go, no, that made it even worse, and now I'm totally against A5?
That's what it seemed like. Everyone in the comments said this conversation's great because it just made me more no.
Right. And I want to see where people are coming out on it. Did it change your opinion at all? Did you stay in the same place? Were you unsure and now you're like waffling? I don't know. I'm just curious how people look at it.
Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think when you're watching this.
Anything else from you, Isaiah, today?
Just want to let everyone know that tonight, Sean Noel will be in St. Clair at the St. Clair Elks Lodge. He's doing this heartbeat tour here, and I'll be there with him. So just want to let everyone know if they're in this area of St. Clair, Parkway, Lawndale, kind of out here in Franklin County area, come out to the St. Clair's Elks Lodge, and we'll have a conversation.
Are you getting close with Sean Noel? Are you guys becoming buddies?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's not like I know him, it's not like he's my best friend or something like that, but we have a lot of common ideals in how we want to approach government, right? And
he's on here. Here's Sean.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's listening.
Yeah. See, this is exact. He's very in the same frame of mind as we are, and he's taken no corporate money. He doesn't take big donations. He only gets small donations from people too. So, really, really, really cool to see someone like that. Because his competitor, we know who he is, right? Dave Schatz, the guy that Ben Keithley was talking about, who got us the gas tax. So,
well, Dave Schatz, that's an interesting one, right? Because Dave Schatz that's the guy that's kind of the AI Dana.
Yeah, that's who now.
Dana Bowers, is that her name from the Root Coalition?
Dana Bowers, yep.
Right, so she's the one that's been fighting back against him. This is what I mean about the distrust. Just last thing I'll say, because Sean Noel knows all about this. So Dave Schatz. I wonder how many people that listen to the show actually understand the mechanics of what went down with Dave Schatz. So Dave Schatz is the presiding commissioner of Franklin County. When the person who left Franklin County is the presiding commissioner, when that person left, Mike Moon filibustered on the Senate floor against Dave Schatz and read 300 plus emails on the floor of people from Franklin County who did not trust Dave Schatz. They used some kind of maneuvering to get him to go to the bathroom. And when he went to the bathroom, I don't know how this whole thing works. I think a quorum was called, blah, 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 whatever happened. And then they put Dave Schatz forward. So the people of Franklin County were adamantly against Dave Schatz being the presiding commissioner. But the governor of the state of Missouri, who's always looking out for you, as we all know, Governor Kehoe, he wanted Dave Schatz so much that they had to kind of maneuver this whole system and ignore the 300 emails coming from Franklin County to put Dave Schatz into that position. I don't know Dave Schatz. I'm just telling you what happened. So Dave Schatz gets into the position of presiding commissioner. And now it's starting to make a little bit more sense because he is the one that seems to be in the way of the people who do not want AI data centers in Franklin County. And he's the guy that says, wait a minute, it's going to bring in a lot of money. We're going to be able to pay for our schools. We're going to be able to do this, going to do that. And the citizens are like, no, Isaiah, you knocked on the doors. You know what's going on out there. They don't want them. But
Yeah.
again, you only have a government if the government is working for you. You do not have a government if they are working for big corporations. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean they're working for the people. And again, here we go.
I'll
If
tell you
there's
something about
money to be
Sean.
made, then here we go.
Yeah,
Go
I'll
ahead.
tell you something about Sean is that when there's a commercial development that's happening here in St. Clair, a big development at an old airport that was shut down a long time ago.
Yep.
And so St. Clair's on the up and up. We're working on that. And I finally got the information as an alderman, right? They're finally giving me the information who these developers are. And I got the information and I saw the name THO Investments and I looked them up. And the first thing I saw, Rob, was that they just spent billions of dollars to buy the Armory in St. Louis to build a data center. And so exactly. And so I called Sean and I was like, hey, am I being a little too crazy here? Am I thinking this is, because I want to be reasonable. I do want to be reasonable I want to be unbiased. You know what I mean? I want to actually hear from both sides. And so am I being a little too crazy here? He's like, no, that's a great question to ask. And so we just talked for a minute. And I was like, okay, thanks for, making me feel like I'm not crazy to think this, at least. Get off the phone. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, I get a call from Tim Baker. And so Tim's like, hey, Isaiah. Yeah, just want to talk. I got Sean here in my office. Got you on speakerphone. Hope you don't mind.
Really?
Yeah. And Sean had gone in and talked to him about it because it was something that had to go to Franklin County as well. There's all these things that have to go to the county, have to go to the city, right? And so we found out, Tim was basically telling me like there's no chance that a data center is going to be built there. So that was music to my ears, right?
Yes.
But you just don't know. It can happen anywhere, and these things are happening. These people are buying land and they're developing stuff, and you just don't know. You just have to pay attention or have good representatives. I hope I get told I'm a good representative for my people here, and as an alderman.
Like the Facebook stuff you're putting out there.
Yeah, that's what people like, and that's what I don't understand. People don't do is just talk to the people. I had people that were against something that we were voting for on Monday night, and they were there early. They asked me some questions. No one else. I mean, there's some aldermen there. No one else was talking to them. I talked to them. I answered their questions. I explained why I was voting yes, even though they wanted me to vote no. And it's because they thought that if we voted no, that this development would stop from getting built. And that was not the truth. And then I was able to explain some other things. They had some misunderstandings of what this building was going to look like. And they're like, oh, wait, so it's not going to be this? I was like, no, it's going to be this. And they're like, oh, okay. And you could just see their demeanor change, Rob, just because I talked to them and they shook my hand and they thanked me for that, even though I was voting for something that they didn't agree with me on.
Yeah,
right?
I think transparency is the key, and that's what Sean Noel said. And I think this is where government has to go. I think this is the new method. This is something we call for. You don't have to agree with everything that I'm saying. I tell people all the time, Isaiah, there's times when I look back and think, I can't believe that I said that. I get things wrong. I'm off the cuff for 3.5, 4 hours a day. I'm going to get some things wrong, but I'll always be transparent. It's my buddy. He said, you just want to admit you're wrong. I said, I will admit I'm wrong. If anything that I got wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. There's a lot of things that I'm wrong about, but I've never made any commentary that Tyler Robinson was the lone assassin or not the assassin or anything else. I've never even talked about it. I just said the official story doesn't make any sense. And where was the security? If I were related to Charlie Kirk, if that was my son, I would sue the security team today. I'd say, wait a minute. You brilliant people didn't think you needed to cover the rooftops because Charlie was having death threats against him and Donald Trump just got shot from a rooftop. I think that JFK got shot from a rooftop. And I think that, who was it? Not a rooftop, but from a window. And so did Reagan. They were all shot from above. And
the lone gunman.
Yeah, you're going to put them in a fishbowl and you're not going to monitor the rooftops. You don't think that makes any sense? And as they said, it was so easy to get up on top of there, Isaiah.
And do you know that security company is suing Candace Owens now because they say that they can't get any business because of her?
They shouldn't get any business.
And that's what she said. She goes, I don't think it has to do with anything that I'm saying. I think
Isaiah,
that it has to
the insanity. You're a security company with a high-profile political person in
extremely high profile,
extremely high profile, death threats against him, and you're going to put him in a fishbowl on a college campus and not even consider manning the rooftops. You not only should you not have any more business, you should be brought up in charges for negligent homicide, and they should put you in prison for neglect. That's my opinion. That's the way I'd look at it. If Charlie Kirk was a family member of mine, I wouldn't be like Erica Kirk. I'd be, wait a minute, you were charged with protecting my husband. What the hell were you guys doing?
And I'll just let's make a caveat here. Whether Tyler Robinson was the one to pull the trigger and kill Charlie Kirk or not, right? That's irrelevant to what we're saying here.
Right.
That's irrelevant. That's not what we're talking about. That's
Exactly.
not at all.
That's right on target here. Rob, those who cannot admit they are wrong are incapable of learning new things, and I believe in that 100%. I like to admit that I'm wrong when I'm wrong because it just says, you know what, I got this wrong. I do that all the time. I just don't like being charged with things that I didn't say. I don't like people putting words in my mouth. I don't like people misconstruing things because that happens all the time, even with listeners, Isaiah. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. The biggest compliment I ever got when I was managing people is that I go to them and I tell them when I was wrong about something, even though I am in charge of them, right? And they said, man, I can't believe that you would come and tell me that you were wrong about something.
It's hard to be
humble. Like, well, I was wrong. Why would I not admit that? I don't understand that. But that's how my parents raised me.
Is to be decent?
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I believe you're
and decent. To seek truth. My mom really, really instilled that into us, to seek the truth. And don't believe everything that you hear. Yeah, seek
a little bit of justice every now and again is good. I got to send that to Ben Keithley. I'm going to keep sending this out, and I will remind Levi and the Winehouse family that we bring this up to everybody that will listen to us. There's not much more that we can do because right now what you need is public exposure because ultimately what you're going to need is Governor Mike Kehoe to give clemency to Jeffrey Winehouse. So we'll do our part. We'll bring attention to it everywhere we can. If we had enough money, I'd give you some T-shirts and I'd give you some billboards and we would just drive people crazy. Maybe that's the next plan is to put some billboards up. You know who put billboards up? Remember I told you about the dream killer and Ryan Ferguson?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Ferguson's father put billboards up. That was part of his plan to bring awareness to it. Finally got an attorney that would look at the case. She looked at it for about a day and she went, well, this is a railroad job. Ryan Ferguson, dream killer. You can watch it on Netflix, was put in prison by the state of Missouri. The guy that prosecuted him became a judge, and the guy who prosecuted him had to be insane because there was no evidence that this kid did anything. And you know why there was no evidence, Isaiah? Because he didn't do it. So there can be no evidence. When somebody doesn't do it, there can be no evidence. He was in bed, 19 years old, and they wanted to put him in prison for the rest of his life in this state. He exhausted all of his legal means, and then this very famed attorney came in, looked at the case. I think it took her about an hour and a half to figure out something was not right. She went and found witnesses who said, I saw the guy who killed him. And it wasn't Ryan Ferguson. And I'm thinking, so the prosecutor didn't think to ask the people that actually witnessed the murder what they saw, and what they saw wasn't Ryan Ferguson. It reminds me and by the way, Ryan Ferguson's father was also involved in the documentary for Jeffrey Winehouse.
Yep.
Kind of crazy how it all works.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Isaiah, have a great day. I got a lot of work to do today. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on the Rob Carter Show. Have a great day, everybody.
See you guys.